We are in Atlanta, Georgia. Saturday night, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets were one swing away from a victory. One swing from Auburn's Stephen Williams put the Tigers in the regional final for a third straight year. Dejection, heartbreak, simply a gut-wrenching loss for the Yellow Jackets. Back in action today against Coastal. Can the Yellow Jackets pick themselves up? On a beautiful Sunday afternoon from Russ Chandler Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, it's day 3 of the Atlanta Regional and our second elimination game featuring the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Welcome to the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. A look at the Atlanta Regional bracket. Last night, Auburn walking off for the 5th time this year. They advanced to the regional final later tonight against the winner of this matchup between Coastal Carolina and Georgia Tech. With that, we welcome you in. Steve Lennox, Rusty Yenzer. Baseball is a game, Rusty, where if it doesn't go right the day or night before, you come back the next day, you try to right the ship. How does Georgia Tech respond from being walked off last night by Auburn?
I tell you, Steve, it was a heartbreaking loss. If you're a Tech player or a Tech fan, you felt like the entire game you had complete control against Auburn, only to get walked off in the bottom of the ninth. But I don't think Danny Hall had to say anything special to his club. He's got a veteran team. Hey, they've won 42 games this year. Rely on your veterans. I think guys like Tristan English and Kyle McCann, they'll handle the clubhouse.
Speaking of Tristan English, Rusty, he's a guy who's carried the bulk on the offensive side.
I tell you, he is a superb talent, and he has been literally perfect in this regional. 7 for 7. He's driven in 5, an outstanding two-way player. I expect to see him on the bump today if Tech is to advance.
Coastal Carolina, season on the line once again. Just like yesterday, they beat Florida A&M to end the Rattlers season. They're back here today, and they're in familiar territory.
Well, they really are. And back in 2016, when they made the run to Omaha in the national championship, the Chanticleers won 6 elimination games. They've turned the trick again this year, 5 in the Sun Belt, 1 yesterday. But Coastal needs to continue what they do best, and that's hit home runs. 91 on the year. They have 4 in the Atlanta Regional.
Georgia Tech and Coastal Carolina, the winner advances to the regional final later tonight against the Auburn Tigers. When we come back, it's going to be time to play ball. First pitch is coming up next.
NCAA Baseball Regionals is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? And in part by Twix. It's time to decide.
Game time temperature here in Atlanta, right around 83 degrees. We are set for baseball, and left-hander Scott Kobos making the start today for the Chanticleers.
Kobos, a redshirt junior left-hander, 6'2", 200 from Charlotte. Fastball is going to be anywhere from 88 to 92. He'll throw a 2-seamer, a 4-seamer, cutter, slider, and change. And he needs to repeat Georgia Southern. The longest outing of the year in the Sun Belt Tournament Championship game was Kobos against Georgia Southern. He went 4 innings to get the save and relief.
Danny Hall goes with the same lineup that he's gone with in the first 2 games. Luke Waddell, the leadoff hitter. Michael Goldberg follows in the lineup for the Yellow Jackets. And for Kobos, he is ready to go against Luke Waddell, who has hit safely in 13 in a row and 38 in a row where he has reached base safely.
He's a very good leadoff hitter. In fact, we got a couple of good ones. Kyle McCann, kind of the key today. 23 home runs on the season, but 4 strikeouts in the regional. Georgia Tech, even though as a team, Steve, they're hitting in this regional .338. They have 24 base hits, but 21 singles. So Georgia Tech hit 67 home runs on the season. Danny Hall's club needs to have a little bit more power, I think, in order to advance.
Back up the middle over the second base bag, and Waddell, a leadoff base runner for the Yellow Jackets, exactly what they need. They need something positive early.
Yeah, that's a great point after that disappointing loss last night. You know, and listen, Tech played a great game. They turned a season-high 4 double plays. Connor Thomas, the starter for Georgia Tech, was pretty much in control the entire game. Tech, as an offense, they got on Tanner Burns early, scored a bunch of runs. They just couldn't tack on late in the game and thus find themselves in an elimination situation.
Cobo started his college career in 2016 at UNC Asheville. Actually played over 30 games in left field. Waddell at first, Michael Goldberg stands in. 1 home run, 32 driven on the season for Goldberg, who has 3 hits and 9 at-bats over the first 2 games of the Atlanta Regional. Cobos with a toss over to first base. Waddell went down in the batter's box on day 1 of the Atlanta Regional on Friday on a swing. Thought it was something in his left knee. Was back in the lineup on Saturday against Auburn. Back in there again today against Coastal Carolina. Jake Wright in right field, 1 down. Goldberg retired.
Yeah, Waddell, it's happened 2 or 3 times this year. Kind of a little bit of a sprain, if you will, in that left knee. So even with Cobos being a lefty, probably not a threat to steal. Tech as a team really doesn't run a ton anyway.
Kyle McCann stands in, 23 home runs, 66 driven in. 23 home runs on the year for the junior. Led the ACC.
That's tied for 4th best in the nation in home runs.
Cobos overall, 5th start, also has worked in relief. Made 4 appearances in 2018, and the season came to an abrupt end. Underwent Tommy John surgery. McCann, in the loss against Auburn, 0 for 4 and 2 strikeouts.
Well, Cobos hadn't pitched a ton this year for Gary Gilmore's team. He had suffered a pinched nerve in his back in mid-March and missed about a month. So just now rounding into shape. You know, both of these clubs now, it's going to be a bullpen-type game. I think both starters, if you ask both head coaches, if both starters could give you 4, 5 would be certainly a bonus.
Nick Lucky in foul territory makes a catch. McCann retired. Leadoff base hit. Cobos has come back and got the next 2 batters in the Georgia Tech lineup. And there is Lucky at third base. He touched on it on Saturday. He had a pinched nerve in his right shoulder earlier this year. That led him to missing time. Tristan English has had 2 terrific games so far in the Atlanta Regional. 4 hits in game 1 and 5 runs batted in, 3 hits and a double. Lines this one down the right field line. It's going to fall in for a hit. Waddell goes to third, and you can see him going in a little gingerly right there. A base hit for English, and that sets up runners at first and third.
Well, I think this is Tristan English's world, and we're all just living in it right now. A perfect 7 for 7. Hey, let's get one off the end of the bat. Let's just make it 8 for 8. Incredible. What a regional. What Tech needs early, big hits, and with 2 outs, this would be a big one.
Baron Radcliffe just 1 for 9 over the first 2 games here in the Atlanta Regional. And he takes a first pitch strike.
Well, he had a team best 23 RBIs in May. And this is a big-time RBI chance.
Georgia Tech, after a loss in 2019, 15-3. They lost 2 in a row on 3 occasions during the regular season. Won the series opener against the UCLA Bruins back in February and then dropped the next 2. Similar against Miami in ACC play, dropped the last 2 of the series against the Hurricanes after taking the opener. Then they lost 2 in a row against Georgia and Boston College.
Well, listen, this is a balanced club. It's a solid club. Hey, that's the reason they're the number 3 overall seed in this tournament. You win 42 games. That's not by luck. That's by talent.
Cobos picks up the strikeout against Radcliffe, and Georgia Tech strands 2 here in the first. No score. Back here in Atlanta at Rush Chandler Stadium, Georgia Tech fans last night leaving the ballpark. One swing, one strike away from a victory. It did not happen for Georgia Tech. Turned away in the top of the first inning, and Keaton Gibson, senior from Buford, Georgia, gets a start for Georgia Tech in an elimination game.
6'2", 209. Danny Hall going with a veteran right-hander. 1 win on the season. This is his 19th appearance. Fastball is going to be anywhere from 88 to 91, and he needs to repeat North Carolina State. That's a game that he started in the ACC tournament against the Wolfpack. He punched out 3 in 3 2/3 innings of work.
Corey Wood stands in for Coastal Carolina. Like Luke Waddell, he has done a terrific job getting on base over the first 2 games here in Atlanta. Wood has done nothing but get on base, followed by Rivers in right. But he's the table setter at the top.
He is, and this is a guy that really gets it going for a lot of these power bats that come up behind Wood. In the Sun Belt tournament, Wood was a wrecking crew. 8 hits in that tournament, scored 8 runs, walked 8 times.
Wood has a count in his favor. 311 hitter. Pair of home runs, 29 knocked in. Young man out of Raleigh, North Carolina. A leadoff walk for Coastal Carolina. That's the 60th time this season that Wood has reached with a free pass. Gary Gilmore, victory against Florida A&M on Saturday, led Coastal Carolina to the College World Series title in 2016 in Omaha, Nebraska. Will reach 1,300 career victories, I would imagine, in 2020. Keaton Rivers, 13 home runs on the season. And Keaton Gibson on the mound is going to draw a visit from Kyle McCann. Talking with Danny Hall about Kyle McCann behind the plate, comparing him to Joey Bard, who was selected number 2 overall by the San Francisco Giants organization in the 2018 Major League Baseball draft. McCann is a guy who go out there and handle you with kid gloves. Bart was at the opposite end, where he'd go out there and if he said it's time to throw a strike and get a little nasty, he would be blunt with his conversation.
Yeah, and he might have a different approach, but hey, his leadership skills, easy for me to say, are off the charts, really. I mean, this is a guy that's played in the program for 3 years. First time behind the dish this year because he had to wait his turn in order to be the catcher because of Joey Bard. Done a nice job handling the staff. Obviously a true team leader as well.
Off the glove of the third baseman Webb, it trickles into center field. Wood heads up base running, goes to third, and into second safely is Rivers.
You're getting a really good look at Coastal right here. Listen, we talk a lot about their home run power and their hitting, but it's a scrappy club, especially the 1-2 guys in the lineup. Wood goes from first to third on this ball hit off the end of the bat, and it trickles just off the end of the glove of Jackson Webb. And because Waddell, the shortstop, is over to try to play the ball in the hole, it caroms and goes into short center field. How about the hustle by Keaton Rivers? Rounding first and taking that extra 90 feet, and now Coastal has 2 runners in scoring position.
Jake Wright, 3 hits and 5 at-bats, including a solo home run in the victory Saturday against Florida A&M. Up there in an RBI situation, 3 hitters in. 1 ball, 1 strike count.
Got to be careful with this guy, the 3-hole hitter. Not huge in stature, but he's got tons of pop. And he's hot right now, hitting safely in 8 of his last 9 at a 470 clip. Nice curveball right there.
Gibson needs an out. A walk, a double that went off the glove of the third baseman Webb.
He's going to have feel for that slider. It's got a little bit of depth. He's got to have a feel for a changeup. You can't continue to pound the zone with fastballs against a team like Coastal.
Gets the strikeout. McCann peeks at the runner at third. Strikeout complete, 1 away.
Exactly where you want it. It's a good pitch choice and exactly where you want to bury it at 1 and 2. Right down in the dirt. Trust your catcher that McCann's going to block it. It's exactly what happens. Watch where this breaking ball ends up. That slider has some nice tilt, some nice late bite. Right swings right over the top of it. Big first out. Now you got to deal with the leading home run hitter for Coastal.
McCann did a terrific job smothering that pitch. Zach Bierman, 309 hitter on the season, leads the team with 18 home runs and 80 runs batted in. Second and third, 1 down. And Keaton Gibson falls behind, a ball and no strikes.
I love Gary Gilmore's quote on Zach Bierman. You throw it low and in to this guy, and you'll be looking for the ball in the parking lot.
Pop up, out of play.
If you come into this man, it better be just to show him, and it better be off the plate.
We've seen in the previous 2 games when pitchers have had success, they've been able to go away and elevate on occasion.
Yep.
Again, McCann keeps that one at home plate.
Nice job by McCann. A couple of really good McCanns in this town, Kyle and Brian.
We touched on it earlier in the weekend. Brian McCann has future big league manager, I think. Liner in the right center field, base hit. Wilhite over to cut it off. Coastal Carolina, 2 runs here in the first inning on the base hit by Bierman and up 2-0.
You cannot attack this guy in the heart of the plate. He'll hurt you in many different ways. It's a great piece of hitting. You know, Bierman at times has a chance to really pull off baseballs to try to yank him down the line and over the fence. That time he stayed, you know, that just a hair hesitation, keeping that front shoulder in there and driving it more to center than right, and producing 2 early runs for Coastal. That's a great piece of hitting. That's a great piece of veteran hitting.
Kyle Skills, Coastal Carolina backstop, redshirt junior from Langhorne, Pennsylvania. Listed at 6'2", 250. That might be from a different time, maybe a couple of years ago when he first got onto campus.
Yeah, that had been recent.
Skills has 10 home runs on the season. He's knocked in 54. Coastal Carolina leading 2-0 in our second elimination game, the 7th elimination game for the Chanticleers in the 2019 postseason. Gibson right now running at first, 2 runs across and 1 down. Limit the damage. Three of the first 4 batters have reached.
So that line on Skills from Pennsylvania. Gary Gilmore and his staff recruit the Northeast heavily. They have a handful of players from the state of Pennsylvania.
Fair ball down the left field line. It kicks off the short fence and ricochets to Hall. A double for Skeels in second and third.
Tech needs a visit to the mound. They've got to get the bullpen going right now. Gibson's not fooling anybody. I think Danny Hall's going to come out and maybe challenge this call. Ball was right down the line. Matt Anderson, the third base umpire, was right on top of it. Guess he decided not to.
Skills with a double. Second double of the inning for the Chanticleers. And here's Parker Shavers. Shavers has 28 extra base hits on the season. Two nothing. Chanticleers looking for more.
Shavers has had a really nice postseason, had 10 hits in the Sun Belt tournament, a couple of home runs here in the Atlanta Regional.
They were stirring around in the Georgia Tech bullpen down the left field line.
Yeah, this is not the start that Georgia Tech was looking for. Matter of fact, today, 4 of the top 8 national seeds are battling to stay alive.
You can add to that number 7 national seeds on the brink, including the UCLA Bruins. UCLA, Georgia Tech, Georgia, Louisville. Walk loads up the bases. Second walk of the inning given up by Keaton Gibson.
How about this? The last 4 teams in the tournament are 7-1 so far. Florida State 2-0, Michigan 2-0, Duke 2-0, TCU 1-1. Pac-12 is 3-7 with all 3 wins against 4 seeds. The SEC is 16-4 with 6 of the 10 teams undefeated going into today. Big 12 is 7-3. Texas Tech and Oklahoma State undefeated. ACC is 10-6 in the tournament.
Jason Howell out to the mound. On the staff for Danny Hall for a 7th year. He is the elder statesman in terms of the assistants. James Ramsey and Dave Jaffe were added to the staff back in January. Some words of encouragement. Aces loaded situation, 1 down in the inning, already 2 runs across.
Well, if you're Keaton Gibson, you really haven't fooled anybody in this inning, but you have to have the mentality, I'm a quality pitch away from getting out of the inning. Keep in mind, Georgia Tech turned a season-high 4 double plays last night against Auburn.
Scott McKeon on an 11-game hit streak.
By the way, the other 3 national seeds, the other 3 top 8 national seeds that are battling to stay alive today other than Georgia Tech be Georgia, Louisville, and UCLA.
Quickly, 2 strikes on McKeon. Liner into right field, base hit. Bierman is in. They go station to station. The throw comes in from the right fielder, Radcliffe. RBI base hit by Scott McKeon. He extends his hit streak to 12 in a row, and it's 3-0.
Well, he tried to bury the slider. He got it up. That pitch is way too good for 0-2. As a matter of fact, The walk-off 3-run home run that Stephen Williams hit last night for Auburn was also on an 0-2 pitch.
Well, we've got a pitching change here in the very first inning. 7 batters have come to the plate. For Coastal Carolina, they're up 3-0 and looking for more. In the national seeds around the nation, number 16 Oregon State eliminated yesterday and going 0-2 in Corvallis. Stanford, UCLA, Pac-12 has had a tough time. Bases loaded. Nick Lucky at the plate. Luke Bartnicki is in the game. Freshman is now on. He is out of Marietta, Georgia. Towards first base and foul.
Bartnicki is a guy that Danny Hall is very high on. Big body lefty, 6'3", 210. Has 2 wins on the season in 29 and a third innings of work. Does have a save.
Gary Gilmore has 6 left-handed bats in the lineup. And now Bartnicki, lefty, on here in the very first inning.
You know, I thought it was interesting because Coastal is a predominantly left-handed hitting type team. I thought that Danny Hall might go with some sort of left-hander as they started to try to combat that.
Gibson facing 7 hitters, recording just 1 out. He is responsible for the 3 runners on base. Fly ball center field. Nick Wilhite drifting back. This one carrying Wilhite, able to haul it in. Tagging from third is Skeels. He comes in to score. Sacrifice flying, a run batted in for Nick Lucky. And Coastal now on top 4-0.
Good piece of hitting by Nick Lucky. A tough left-on-left matchup. A productive out for the Coastal third baseman. Ball on the outer half, but Lucky able to get enough of it. I thought when that ball left the bat, it had a chance to get over the head of Nick Wilhite. He's got great speed out there, ran it down on the warning track. That's a big 4th run for Coastal here in the first.
Cameron Piercy is at the plate. For 4-0 Coastal Carolina. Piercy serves one into center field. Wilhite is there, makes the catch. Inning over. Damage is done. 4 runs across. 4-0 Coastal. We'll be joined by Chris Cotter from studio on the other side of our break. Chris, thank you very much. 4-0 Coastal Carolina. Chanticleers, 7th time they've come to the ballpark in the last few weeks with the season on the line. 5 elimination victories in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament, 1 on Saturday. Long layoff between the first and second inning for starting pitcher Scott Kobos, who left 2 stranded in the first inning. Colin Hall starting things off for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets here in the top of the second. Hall's done a nice job so far for the Yellow Jackets, getting on base over the first 2 games.
Well, he's been excellent the last 5 weeks. The son of the Georgia Tech head coach, hitting at a .386 clip. Had 5 hits in the ACC tournament last week.
3 hits in the Game 1 victory Friday night against Florida A&M. Knocked in a pair and had a stolen base. Kobo steals, goes up the ladder, picks up his second straight strikeout.
Like the attack right there, working off the fastball and elevating. When you get 2 strikes, hitters have to expand the strike zone, and more pitchers I'm seeing in the college game are using the fastball and throwing it about letter to shoulder height, and it's hard to get on top of that baseball, hard to catch up. Plus, you can control that pitch a little bit more than you typically can a breaking ball, as we saw last night on that walk-off home run by Stephen Williams.
Austin Wilhite at the plate with 1 down. Wilhite has hit safely in 7 of his last 8. 3 hits in the Atlanta Regional. Coastal Carolina up 4-0. Winner of this game advances to the regional final against 2-0 Auburn. Wilhite, his twin brother Nick, center fielder and number 9 batter in the Georgia Tech lineup. Continues to battle against Kobos.
This is a really good AB right here. This is, something like this can also wake this team up from Georgia Tech. They need something positive. They gave up a 4 spot in the bottom of the first.
And on the hands. And they count 2 balls and 2 strikes.
That's a good 1-2 location pitch on the fastball.
Austin in the batter's box. Nick in the hole.
Change away would be a good one. Nope, tries to elevate the fastball again. If he has feel for the changeup right now, that would be a really good 3-2 pitch.
Spoils 1 foul. Austin Wilhite will see a 9th pitch of this at bat. Kobos, you'd love 4. And he went 4 innings, picked up the save in the Sun Belt Championship game against Georgia Southern. Did not allow a run. Walked 1 and struck out 4. It was his longest outing of the season. So you get 4. And he leaves with the lead after you stick to an early 4 spot in the first inning. Job well done.
Depending on how this game goes and how Tech reacts second time through the lineup, he could be in there longer.
Smash to center field. Shavers going back, makes the catch. Let's go back to the studio. Chris Cotter.
Third baseman, number 35, Jackson Webb.
Thank you, Chris. Coastal Carolina chasing starter Keaton Gibson from the ball game. In the very first inning, he recorded just 1 out. Jackson Webb will look to get things going for the Yellow Jackets with 2 down. Switch hitting third baseman. He's been a mainstay at third base. Player left the team during the season, and Jackson Webb got the opportunity, and he's been in there ever since. Cobos was selected by the Cleveland Indians organization in the 38th round back in 2017. Mentioned earlier, UNC Asheville in 2016. To right field, an adventure for Wright. This one gets by him and goes to the wall. Webb to second. He'll stop there, and he's in scoring position with 2 down. It will go as a double.
Misplayed in right field by Jake Wright. Now keep in mind, Jake Wright, so in the first 2 games of this tournament, has been the DH. Keaton Rivers has been the right fielder and played great defense. That ball was misplayed over his head. 2-out double, and Tech has a break. Let's see if they can take advantage of it with Nick Wilhite.
Third base hit for the Yellow Jackets. Nick Wilhite, 2 base hits and 6 at bats. He's got a pair of RBIs over the first 2 games, on base 4 times. Takes upstairs from Scott Cobos, and the count of ball and no strikes.
That's just the 4th extra base hit for Georgia Tech in this regional.
And they do have guys in the lineup who will get on base with singles, but you've got McCann, 23 home runs, English 17, Radcliffe 12. Radcliffe has been quiet. Hall, who struck out to start off the inning, 18 doubles.
Well, when you give up a 4 spot in the bottom of the first, you need base runners and you need your big home run hitters to come through. You know, Georgia Tech has the threat of the 3-run home run, but I think Danny Hall's team is going to have to drive the ball out of the park in order to try to beat Coastal Carolina today at some point.
Good job by Skeels, the catcher, keeping that one at home plate and keeping the runner at second base. Skeels in the opener against Auburn Friday. He went to the athletic trainer. He's probably asking for ice for the left wrist, the inner right thigh. Got plunked up near the front shoulder at one point. And if you watch him behind the plate, he goes through the signals with the hands, and he does not put that throwing hand. It's exposed. He does not put it behind the back. Kobo strikes out Nick Wilhite, inning over. Webb a double, nothing else doing. 4-0 Coastal, middle of the second.
That play in left field by Marks is one that's not going to show up in the book. That if they can get it out right here, that just won Coastal Carolina a national title.
The winning run is at second. 3-2 coming to Ryan Hogg. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship.
I'll look at the Chanticleer's history in the NCAA tournament. 17th appearance overall, 16th under head coach Gary Gilmore, won it all. In 2016, going through Raleigh to win the regional championship, went through Baton Rouge for the Super Regional round, and then won in Omaha over Arizona.
55 wins in 2016 for Gary Gilmore's championship team.
We talked with him Thursday about that run that they made, and he told us what many people did not realize and did not think they got enough credit for the talent that they had. Said they had 5 or 6 solid pitchers, and it was tough to really prepare for a guy like Andrew Beckwith, who just was phenomenal. Corey Wood starting things off here in the second against Bart Nicky. Got things going in the first with a leadoff walk.
Well, and the thing about that national championship team, and sometimes you have to be lucky. I'm not saying Coastal didn't deserve it because they did. They won. But they didn't have any injuries. And when you can stay healthy, and that's real important for, a mid-major type team that doesn't have maybe the depth of an ACC or an SEC or a Pac-12 team. So staying healthy was certainly key for Coastal that year, and it was certainly a magical run. They won 6 elimination games that postseason.
They've matched that number here in 2019, winning 5, coming to the ballpark. A loss in their season was over in the Sun Belt Conference tournament that they hosted in Conway, South Carolina. Keaton Rivers doubled and scored back in the first. His double went off the glove of the third baseman, Webb. Coastal taking advantage. Skies one in the air to Ratcliffe in right field. A couple of steps to his left, 2 down. Barnicki has done a nice job since entering.
Yeah, they need just somebody in there to kind of cool the jets, kind of calm things down for Tech, and so Tech can kind of exhale. Listen, still early in the ballgame. There's a lot of baseball to be played. And again, we're going to see probably multiple arms for Coastal in this game. So 4 probably is not going to win it.
Bartnicki to right. For more coverage of the Division I baseball regionals and interactive brackets, go to ncaa.com. Bartnicki misses down low. Jake Wright, redshirt sophomore from Chester, South Carolina. Started at Seminole State College. Off the corner. Again, 7 national seeds on the brink on this Sunday in the regional round, including number 1 national seed UCLA. Georgia Tech in this situation after being walked off last night by Auburn. Bartnicki, a 1-2-3 second, and he's been solid since entering in the first. 4-0 Coastal.
Georgia Tech made its first College World Series appearance in 1994 under first-year head coach Danny Hall. They were led by 3 consensus first-team All-Americans, Jason Veritek, Nomar Garcia-Parra, and Jay Payton. They would finish as runner-up to Oklahoma. They've made it to the College World Series twice since 2002 and 2006.
Hosting the regional for the first time since 2011.
42 wins this year for Tech. That's the most since that 2011 team.
In 2002, Scott Strickland, head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs, was on staff. Off Bierman towards second base. And a leadoff base runner as Waddell reaches. That one ate up the first baseman.
Now here's something to keep in mind. Tech has flipped the lineup. This is the second time through. Waddell gets a good look at Kobos. But something to keep an eye on is how well the Tech hitters get to settle in on Kobos. He has some crossfire in the delivery, and that long arm slot is trackable. He'll need to mix his pitches, I think, the second time through the order a little bit more. Try to get Georgia Tech hitters to expand a little bit, and that'll also complement his fastball.
Waddell 2 for 2, an infield base hit. Goldberg 0 for 1. Right here, Waddell has done his job. He's gotten on against Kobos in the leadoff spot. Goldberg trying to set things up for McCann and English to follow. Mentioned Scott Strickland, part of the 2002 staff at Georgia Tech, that team going to Omaha. In 2006, Matt Wieters was on the team that went to Omaha. And Wally Krancer also was on that team. He is now on staff at Illinois State. Redbirds beating the Louisville Cardinals on Saturday.
Danny Hall's coaching tree has a lot of branches. You mentioned Krancer and Strickland. Josh Holliday was a Tech assistant. He's now the head coach at Oklahoma State. Greg Beals was a Kent State player under Danny Hall, the head coach at Ohio State. Bobby Miranda, a Tech assistant, Western Carolina.
Ohio State won in extra innings on Saturday. Talking with Danny Hall. We'll touch base with him in a few innings, but he's keeping track. 2 on, nobody out. Back to the studio with Chris Cotter.
Number 16, Kyle McCann.
Steve Lennox, Rusty Enzer from Atlanta, Georgia. Russ Chandler Stadium. Georgia Tech, Coastal Carolina. Chanticleers 4 in the first inning. This is their second elimination game. Georgia Tech into the elimination bracket on Saturday night. They lost in the bottom half of the ninth inning to the Auburn Tigers. Stephen Williams, a 3-run home run. McCann, the hitter. And Kobos, who has allowed base runners in each of the first 3 innings now, in a jam with nobody out.
Well, if you're Georgia Tech, this is the guy you want up in this situation. Your leading home run hitter. And boy, could they use one. Tech, 67 bombs on the year. They have not hit a home run in this regional.
Kobos. You always hear coaches, managers, pitching coaches talk about getting ahead with that first pitch strike. He's just 4 of 12 so far. Has not come back to bite him at any point so far. But Georgia Tech threatening. McCann, the number 3 hitter. English, a single in his first at bat. On deck. And it's 2-1. In terms of aggressiveness right now for McCann, where would you put him with knowing that English is on deck?
Well, anything on the inner half, if I'm Kyle McCann, I'm coming out of my shoes.
Does just that into right field for a base hit. Waddell is stopped at third as the throw comes in. And now he comes in to score as a throw came across the diamond. And Georgia Tech on the board here in the third inning against Kobos and the Chanticleers.
Nice piece of hitting by Kyle McCann, the Georgia Tech catcher. Really, Steve, Georgia Tech caught a break right there. You're right. James Ramsey, the third base coach, was holding up Waddell. But Jake Wright in right field, that ball came into third base instead of going to home because Goldberg was running up behind Waddell. He was going from second to third, so Tech gets a break right there. If that ball comes into home, Tech's got a situation and a possible rundown between third and home. Or, between second and third.
4-1 ball game. A visit to the mound by Drew Thomas. Pitching coach for the Chanticleers. Take another look at the runners for Georgia Tech on the base hit by McCann.
There's Waddell. See, he thinks he's getting the stop sign, but when he sees the throw come towards third and Goldberg was coming up right behind him, he didn't see it. So that was a break for Tech right there. You know, typically Waddell would score on a ball hit that deep into right field because, and we've talked about it too, that left knee, he's not 100%.
3 straight batters have reached in the inning. Here is English. Now 8 hits with a single in the first. Towering fly ball, left field, Rivers back. Now coming in a couple of steps, makes the catch. Tagging is Goldberg. He will come in to score. English picks up his 69th run batted in on the season, and it's a 4-2 ball game. Wind blowing in, wind blowing not at all. That ball, we might have a tie ball game.
He just got underneath that one just a tick. I tell you, that's a great approach. Got great extension, just a hair underneath that one. But a smart play by Keaton Rivers. Obviously, no way you're going to throw Goldberg out at the plate. So in order to keep another runner out of scoring position, the throw comes into second. That was a smart play. Good productive out by English, the 4-hole hitter for Tech.
Here is Barron Radcliffe. He looks at a first pitch strike.
That's 6 RBIs in the regional for English. 8 hits, 6 ribbies.
Radcliffe is now 1 for 10 with 4 strikeouts in the Atlanta Regional. Cobos jumps in front 1-2. Approaching 60 pitches. We're in the 3rd inning. Looper, third base side, Lucky giving chase on the warning track and cannot make a play. Second line for Radcliffe at the plate.
Good effort by Lucky getting over there. I think if he sprints over a little bit more, I think he thought he was closer to the wall or the fence right there than he really was. I think if he, looks like he gave up just a little too soon because he thought it was close to that fence.
Tried to get him to chase, and Radcliffe able to lay off. Chanticleer's 4 runs in the first inning. Georgia Tech, a pair here in the 3rd, looking for more. Close, but missing, and that runs the count full.
That is a tough take right there. That ball looked like strike 3 to me.
Go right back there. Radcliffe stays alive. A reliever most of the season, getting the start in an elimination game. Lost him, second walk of the inning.
Good at bat by Radcliffe. Remember, I mentioned at the beginning of this inning, this was a key inning. Second time through the order, how would Tech hitters settle in and read that long delivery from Cobos?
Colin Hall struck out to start the second for the Yellow Jackets. Two runs across, and still just 1 out. And that out was a productive out by English with a sacrifice fly. Hall, one thing that stands out for me with him, he stays in on lefties.
I tell you, he's a typical coach's son. Hard-nosed, tough, gritty. He's not in the starting lineup because his dad's the head coach. He's in the starting lineup because he's a good player.
Older brother Carter, also on the Georgia Tech roster.
Really good gap hitter.
Carter has had his share of injuries. Go ahead, run at the plate. Cobos deals. Hall lays off. McCann is the runner at second base. There is Carter. Radcliffe is the runner at first. 3-2 with one down. Off the end of the bat, shallow left center field. Keaton Rivers and the center fielder Shavers cuts in front, makes the catch. Colin Hall retired, and that is out number 2 as Cobos wins that battle.
Second baseman, number 14, Austin Wilhite.
And now it's going to be up to Austin Wilhite to keep this inning alive. He's up with 2 on. Wilhite lined to center in his first at bat, 0 for 1. Looks at a first pitch strike.
Wilhite, the Tech shortstop the first couple of years in the program, slid over to second this year for Luke Waddell.
Georgia Tech defensively has turned 6 double plays over their first 2 games, including 4 in the 1-run loss against Auburn on Saturday night. Comes inside and misses. Oregon State 0-2 in Corvallis. And their season comes to an end. First time since 1985 a team goes 0-2 after winning the title. Tossed down to first base as Bierman came in behind the runner. Scott Cobos, now over 70 pitches in a ball game. Again, last time out went 4 innings and did not allow a run in closing out Georgia Southern in the Sun Belt Championship. He has now thrown more pitches in the ball game than at any point in 2019.
He's been basically a bullpen guy, slowed by that pinched nerve in his back. Gary Gilmore would love to see Cobos get out of this inning here, no further damage, and maybe one more. If he could get 4 out of his lefty, he would be thrilled at this point. One of these 2 teams is going to have to play 2 games today.
Did he go? No, says our first base umpire this afternoon, Jeff Hendricks.
I don't think he went. I think what Coastal's barking about from the dugout is they thought it should have been a called strike. That ball ended up in the strike zone.
4th full count that Cobos has had on a Georgia Tech batter. Wilhite hits one sharply to the shortstop. McKeon across the diamond, inning over. Georgia Tech scores 2. They leave 2. 4-2 ball game. Chris Cotter from studio on the other side. Chris, thank you very much. Florida State putting a thumping on Georgia in Athens on Saturday. The Seminoles closing in on another 40-win season. They need to get to Supers in order to hit that mark under 11. Mike Martin in his final year, but they're in the regional final again later this afternoon, later tonight actually, at 6 Eastern against Georgia or Florida Atlantic. John McCormack's team went 7 in Gainesville against the Gators in 2018.
Aaron Schunk having quite a regional there in Athens for Georgia, hitting a home run. He's also a outstanding two-way player and also a finalist for the John Olerud Award. So both two-way players here in the state of Georgia, Aaron Schunk and Tristan English, putting on clinics in their respective regionals.
Zach Bierman behind in the count 1-2. Luke Bartnicki worked a 1-2-3 second, got the final 2 outs in the first inning. Lucky had a sacrifice fly, got a run, but he also got an out, which was much needed. Then he got Piercy on a line out to center. And on the hands and hit foul. Bierman, a 2-run base hit in the first inning. He came in to score on a base hit by McKeon and 4 runs across in the frame. They chased the starter Keaton Gibson from the game. He went 1/3 of an inning. Gave up the 4 runs on 4 hits.
If you're Georgia Tech, you definitely want that as a strike. Kind of a tight strike zone for both sides. Hey, listen, as long as you're consistent, that's all you ask for as a pitcher or a hitter.
Picks up the strikeout, and 1 down here in the inning. The ESPN Networks bring you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with regional coverage this weekend on ESPN2, ESPNU, the SEC Network, and ESPN3. Whip-around coverage is also available through ESPN3 and the Bases Loaded channel. All coverage is available on the ESPN app. Wrapped on the ground to third base, Jackson Webb across the diamond. Tristan English, a bobble, and safe at first base is Skeels. It will go as an error on the third baseman. English wants an explanation.
He's saying he's going that he was pulling the ball out to grab it on the, I guess, to throw it around it. I mean, he has complete control of it right there, no doubt. Well, you can see the little bit of a snow cone. Maybe not. Look at it right there.
But I think it was in the webbing initially, then kind of came out. No, maybe not on that side.
We're going to take a look at it either way.
We'll have our first review of the afternoon. Skeels called safe by Jeff Henricks.
I tell you, as a former first baseman, I mean, anytime you have a nice scoop over there, I mean, you want to try to look, comfortable and somewhat cool, I guess, and throw the ball around after you make a nice play like that. But with that big mitt, there's a lot of room in there. You want to make sure you have complete control of it, come off the bag, and then make the throw. See if he holds on to it right there.
He was claiming on the exchanges where the ball came loose.
I think that's a right call.
Number 3, Parker Chambers.
Skeels a base runner with 1 down. It'll go as an error on the third baseman, Jackson Webb.
We mentioned earlier that Georgia Tech turned a season-high 4 double plays last night. And they were just cruising along until the 9th inning. But remember how the 9th inning started. Started with an error and a hit by pitch.
Bartnicki pours in a strike to Shavers, who walked and was left stranded back in the first inning. Davids reached on the error to open up the bottom of the 9th inning last night. Error was committed by the shortstop, Luke Waddell. And then Holland was hit by a pitch. Connor Thomas came back, got the next 2 batters. Worley had a single. And then Williams ended it with a 3-run home run to right.
Bartnicki, I tell you, you talk about a projectable type player. I mean, that's the body of a projectable player. Just a freshman this year. Really nice, smooth motion. He was an excellent swimmer in high school. That might help the looseness in both of his shoulders, especially that left one.
Seth Beer, formerly of Clemson on the Astros organization, comes to mind. Was a standout swimmer. A walk to Skeels, and Shavers works the walk. Let's take another look at the ground ball and watch the runner Skeels. Cross the bag. Maybe that foot just glanced the top side of the first base bag. But they never came back to tag him. And again, it was English who almost immediately directed his attention towards the dugout as if to say, we could possibly challenge here. There's his hands right there saying,
okay,
we got
so
him.
Here's the lesson out there for any youngsters watching this game. Never take for granted that the play is going to be made. Always touch the base.
Bartnicki now facing a first and second one-out situation. Activity in the bullpen. Jonathan Hughes is up and throwing. And getting loose. We'll start to ramp things up. Bartnicki will now face Scott McKeon, who had an RBI base hit in the 4-run first inning. His base hit chasing Keaton Gibson from the game. Bierman struck out to open up the inning. An error and a walk. Bartnicki almost in the blink of an eye. And a little hot water. One around. McKean with the base hit back in the first inning, extending his hit streak to 12 in a row. His longest on the year is 14. Winner of this game advances to face Auburn in the regional final at 6 Eastern. And Coastal Carolina trying to come through the losers bracket, losing on day one to Auburn on Friday. A win against Florida A&M on Saturday, trying to pick up a win here in game number 5 of the Atlanta Regional. Then get by Auburn and force a decisive game number 7 on Monday. They'll play 5 games. Bartnicki with his 3rd strikeout.
Excellent 2-strike location by Luke Bartnicki. Goes to the fastball, elevates. We've talked about it a couple of times today. It's a hard ball to lay off for a hitter and a hard ball to get on top of.
Nick Lucky. Sacrifice fly and a run batted in against Bartnicki. In the first inning, he was the first batter against Bartnicki. Opposite way, this one's slicing into the bullpen area where Hughes continues to warm up. Chanticleers out of the Sun Belt. Disappointing finish to 2018, hosted and did not make it out of the regional round. Our Nicky misses for ball one. Expectations, they've always been one of those schools that has been a thorn in the side of teams and regionals in prior years. In 2016, expectations after you win a national title just sort of go through the roof.
No doubt. I mean, just an improbable run. It was great for the college game, I think.
Pop up. Waddell giving chase in foul territory. Makes a catch right at the belt buckle. And Coastal threatens but fails to score. 4-2 ball game going to the fourth. The NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One. Steve Lennox and Rusty Enzer. National Tournament highlights. 7 seeds on this Sunday of regional action. Facing elimination, Oregon State 0-2. Joining Fresno State and Arizona as schools to win a championship and then next year go 0-2 in regional play. Florida State, 1 win away from a 17th Super Regional in school history. Mike Martin's final season. Georgia, Florida Atlantic Owls right now in Athens. And SEC teams, 10 of them in the field of 64, and all faring pretty well so far. There's been a lot of offense from SEC teams. We've got a 4-2 ball game and a new pitcher in the ball game for Coastal Carolina. Alaska Abney is now on.
Abney 6'1", 190 from right here near Atlanta in Lawrenceville, Georgia. 3 wins on the season, making his 30th appearance. That's tops on the club, and he's the club leader in saves with 3. A little bit different arm action, little arm slot. Lefty's going to have to do a really good job staying in from that arm slot. That ball is going to tail away and down from left-handed hitters.
First appearance of the Atlanta Regional for Alaska. Bunt. Alaska Abney off the mound. And Webb retired for the first out. You're down in this area. High school kids end up going to 4-year schools, even 2-year schools. Maybe a little more towards the line away from Abney.
Listen, that's not a bad idea. And a great job. Test the pitcher immediately, the new guy in the game. And listen, as a pitcher, your job is obviously to throw strikes, but you're also a fielder. You got to field your position as well.
But the point there, a lot of guys, 2-year, 4-year schools, when they make it to the college level, they're facing former teammates, former guys, former opposing players in the high school ranks. Granted, the development continues up the ladder, so what you saw maybe as a junior in high school is going to be different. Wilhite, a pop-up, lucky. Makes the catch.
He played that one a lot better than the previous ball over there near that fence. This time he sprinted it over, found the wall. That ball wasn't as high as the other one. You see him find the wall, sticking that right hand out right there. That's a nice play. You do not want to give Tech hitters extra swings.
Luke Waddell, 2 base hits, a pair of singles. Gentleman appears to be all right after a little collision with Lucky, who had momentum on his side. Cobos went 3. Allowed 2 runs, both earned on 5 hits. Walked 2, struck out 3. And had base runners in each of the first 3 innings. Gave up the 2 runs in the third. Towards second base. Wood, tough play. And he throws it away. Skeels will back up. And Waddell reaches with 2 outs. It'll go as an infield base hit for Luke Waddell. He's now 3 for 3.
The designated hitter, number 6, Michael Gould.
Nice hustle by Waddell out of the box from the left side. Kind of rolls over on one right there, and Corey Wood makes a nice play, but look how far he has to come to field that baseball, and that's a difficult throw because your momentum in almost a sprint is going towards home, and you have to turn around and almost at a 90-degree angle try to get that ball and make an accurate throw to first base.
Goldberg 0 for 1, a walk and a run scored at the plate with 2 down.
Speed puts pressure on the defense.
Two strikes on Goldberg. He'll keep a foot in the batter's box, but not too sure that he agreed with the call from the home plate umpire. Same from the third base dugout. Josh Shempis is now telling Danny Hall there was a warning issued there.
Obviously, the patience of that Georgia Tech bench is pretty thin right now.
Way outside, Skeels keeps out one at home plate. Danny Hall, we'll talk to after this inning wraps up. Coastal in 2016 went through Raleigh, and Elliott Avent was ejected and was not available to coach in the 7th game, I believe it was, against Coastal Carolina. He had a confrontation with the home plate umpire, and there was contact, and it drew an automatic suspension. Chopper towards shortstop. Scott McKeon, high throw to first, safe. Goldberg hustling down the line. McKeon charged with the error, and the inning continues.
Well, a nice pickup by McKeon on that short hop, but again, speed puts pressure on the defense. That errant throw not only keeps the inning alive, but more importantly for Georgia Tech, your best home run hitter gets to the plate now with 2 outs in the inning in Kyle McCann.
Dave Jaffe, first base coach, serving also as umpire, helping out in that situation. And we've got a visit to the mound by Drew Thomas. Alaska Abney in his first inning out of the bullpen should be out of the inning right now. All 4 infielders coming in, settle things down. Skeels will stay for an extra moment.
McCann has 47 career home runs for Georgia Tech. That's just 10 away from the school record.
Held by another former Georgia Tech backstop and Jason Varitek. Takes ball 1. McCann a single in the last inning, 1 for 2.
And it was a good piece of hitting in that last inning with that RBI single. Again, a 3-run homer would be fantastic, but what Georgia Tech needs right now, solid contact. They'd take a base hit. Anything positive right now for this team.
2 ball, no strike count. The dangerous Tristan English waits on deck.
Now, one thing to keep in mind with that arm slot from Abney, That ball, if he loses conviction and throws that ball on the inner half, that ball's going to be tailing down. Left-handers like it down and in.
Above the belt for ball 3. Goldberg at first, represents the tying run. Waddell is at second. Taking, and it's a strike, 3-1. There is English, hoping for an opportunity here in the 4th inning. Georgia Tech down 4-0 after the first, trying to claw back in. Started that in the 3rd with the pair.
Inner half, he's going to unload.
Walked him. 3 straight batters have reached after Abney got the first 2 of the inning. Well, if you're Georgia Tech, you've got the guy you want at the plate in this situation.
Well, by far the hottest hitter, not only on Georgia Tech's team, but in this regional. Literally nobody's been able to get him out.
Picked up his 69th run, batted in with a sac fly in the 3rd. Soft liner into right field. Wright makes the catch, inning over. Georgia Tech strands 3. We'll talk with head coach Danny Hall of the Yellow Jackets when we come back. Hall joins us from the Yellow Jacket dugout. Coach, as you got to the ballpark today and your players got to the ballpark, were you looking for anything in particular? And did you see it in terms of body language or how they went about their preparation?
No, I thought our guys were kind of ready to go. And, we talked a lot about it last night after the game. Obviously, tough loss, but can't do anything about that. We just got to try to fight hard here today.
How much talking did you do? You've got some really serious leaders on this team, and English and McCann. How much do you let them kind of operate in the clubhouse?
Well, it's probably all of us, and, I was really impressed just by the reaction of our whole team on how they kind of consoled Connor Thomas last night. He pitched a great game for us, just unfortunately didn't come up with a win.
We were told that often he's picked up the team in weekend starts. They picked him up last night.
No doubt. No doubt about it. And, now we got to fight here today. We got a good ball game going. Going to be, a battle.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Danny Hall from the Georgia Tech dugout.
And it's interesting what he said about how they, sat and talked about it and so forth. That was a game last night. I mean, Georgia Tech had all the momentum. They made all the plays, turned 4 double plays. Connor Thomas was dealing, but something just wasn't right in that 9th inning, and it started out with a potential disaster with an error and a hit by pitch. And so Auburn, and I think as you go back and look at that game, there was a moment in that game. Rankin Woley had 2 big plays in that game. He had a run-scoring single to cut the deficit from 5-2 to 5-3 in the bottom of the 9th. But a few innings prior to that, he threw out Tristan English at the plate on a ball that was on a play at first base. He came off the bag, he blocked the ball, picked it up, and threw English out at home. And at the time, it didn't look like that big of a play. But when you break it down towards the end, that was the difference in the ballgame.
Georgia Tech, on just 3 occasions during the regular season, losing 2 straight. They never had a 3-game losing streak at any point in time. Piercy starting things off. Came on as a pinch hitter for Jared Johnson. He's batting in the number 9 spot now in the DH role. Pinch hit in the very first inning, line to center. And stranded a pair. And he is a leadoff base runner. Well, we talked about the home run in the bottom half of the ninth inning last night here at Rush Chandler Stadium. And Stephen Williams, Auburn fans are going to remember this one for a long time.
Well, it was an 0-2 pitch as well. And, Williams is sitting breaking ball because Connor Thomas has a wipeout slider. He's been throwing that pitch all night to the left-handed hitters. But here's the other key. Not only was it an 0-2 pitch, you hang him, you'll bang him, and that's exactly what Stephen Williams did. But that was the fourth time that he had seen Connor Thomas in that game.
You saw the Georgia Tech players with Thomas after he gave up the home run, and he knew it off the bat. A leadoff walk, second walk issued by Luke Martinicky, and Corey Wood 0 for 1, a walk and a run scored at the plate. 4-2, Coastal Carolina winner advances to the regional final to face Auburn tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. Winner of this game will need to win not only tonight, but they would need that win tonight to advance to a 7th and decisive game on Monday. Toss over to first base. Piercy is a threat to run.
The other thing that gets kind of lost in the shuffle with Williams' walk-off home run, I think you have to give credit to Richard Fitz, Auburn's relief pitcher. He comes in for Tanner Burns, goes 6 solid, 4 hits, no runs, 4 strikeouts in 84 pitches. I mean, without Richard Fitz, Auburn's not playing for the regional final at 6 o'clock tonight.
Foul tip into the glove of the catcher. Seven national seeds teetering on the brink, including Georgia and Athens, after losing to Florida State on Saturday. A balk. Nope. Home plate umpire is coming out, Josh Shempis. Umpires are now going to come together. Jeff Henricks indicated balk and had the call. And Shempis, perhaps time was called at home plate. All 4 umpires coming together. Watch Shempis behind the plate. And now, after they get together, the balk on the bases stands, and now Danny Hall is out of the dugout on the third base side. Four umpires are going to come together once again now on the third base side, just away from home plate. Well, if they go back now, runner Cameron Pesey is at second base. Take another look here with Luke Bartnicki. I didn't see any indication there of time being called at home plate.
I think Barnicki thought that the first base umpire may have called time, or somebody did.
Well, 3 umpires leaving on the first base side of the diamond. Our review cameras for the first 2 days have been on the third base side, where the Georgia Tech dugout is at the far end. 3 of the 4 umpires have left the field entirely. And at no point have we seen them actually go down the right field line at any point. Review with the headsets are over on the third base side.
Bartnicki heard something. There's no way that he's going to stop in his windup automatically.
But Shepis, the home plate umpire, never gave any indication that time was being called. And could even see there, Jason Kaminsky, the second base umpire, did not move until he heard the balk. English heard it as well. Well, Bartnicki with 3 umpires down the right field line and out of our sight, trying to stay warm here, and we'll see if it's going to be Piercy at first with nobody out or at second with nobody out. After they came together initially, they said yes, and they pointed to second base indicating balk, but then Danny Hall came out. Well, we take a look at this, and this is not reviewable under the guidelines that we have been privy to and have access to. Nowhere in there are you going to see balk. Hit by pitch, we have seen that here in the regional with Octavian Moyer of Florida A&M. Well, we are continuing to wait. If this somehow ends up with Piercy back at first base, then you're going to see Gary Gilmore out of the first base dugout.
This is kind
Danny
of bizarre.
Hall, after talking with the umpires, Danny Hall did give an indication pointing to the press box, and that's a protest. So in a 4-2 ball game with nobody out here in the bottom of the 4th inning, only one umpire on the field of play. And we're coming up on 5 minutes, Rusty, where the other 3 have been completely out of view. They do have their locker room down the right field line. That's where they come in from before games get underway. While we wait for the 3 umpires who went back to their locker room, we take a look at the Atlanta Regional. This is our second elimination game. Coastal Carolina winning on Saturday afternoon 9-4 over Florida A&M. The Rattlers went 0-2 here at Rush Chandler Stadium. Our second elimination game right now. The winner of this one advancing to face Auburn tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern. So again, we have a delay, and we are certainly at 5 minutes or after 5 minutes.
Atlanta Regional matched up with the Chapel Hill Regional. The top seed in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Tar Heels have won the first 2. They're in their regional final. See North Carolina over Liberty yesterday. Tennessee spanked UNCW. Tennessee and Liberty playing right now. The winner gets North Carolina at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. Volunteers are up 5-3 in that matchup. The winner of Tennessee and Liberty would have to beat North Carolina twice tonight and then an if necessary game tomorrow in order to advance.
And both Georgia Tech And Coastal Carolina in the same situation here at Atlanta. A win to advance, and then they would need 2 more wins against Auburn to advance out of Atlanta.
I really think probably the biggest story are so many of the number 1 seeds battling to stay alive today from the losers bracket. But I think maybe the second biggest story today is we are in the middle of day 3 of NCAA play. The last 4 in are 7-1 going into today. Florida State, Michigan, and Duke all 2-0. TCU 1-1.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. Coastal Carolina winning the College World Series at TD Ameritrade Park in Omaha in 2016. Good for college baseball. It's not all SEC, ACC, although schools in those conferences have had success. A state like Connecticut has had 3 teams in the tournament field this year. Central Connecticut has won. UConn winning after losing its opener. And Quinnipiac, second time in the field of 64 for the Quinnipiac Bobcats, and they have a victory on their resume. Well, Danny Hall, Bartnicki has been throwing. We're now over 8 minutes of waiting. Danny Hall, and I'm a little surprised that Georgia Tech players are still on the field. It's not a day where we're dealing with excessive heat, but Danny Hall is now coming over to the first base side in front of the dugout, and now the umpires are coming back out onto the playing field. And I would think that Gary Gilmore is also going to want, that is, if this changes in some way, an explanation. But our delay is 8 minutes, and this is going to probably go past 10 minutes because we're going to have an explanation at some point. Andy Solomon is the NCAA tournament director here in Atlanta.
The other gentleman, I believe, is
Danny Hall is about to get an explanation. George Drochis was the other gentleman, NCAA National Coordinator of Baseball Umpires. Well, the way this is going on right now leads me to believe that the base runner, Cameron Piercy, is going to have second on a balk call. And Piercy is coming back out and jogging towards second base. Come to the ballpark, you just never know what you're going to see. Danny Hall is still hot. So Georgia Tech players taking their positions on the field. Never left the field to the third base dugout. And now Josh Shepis. Piercy will lead off walk. On second base, Bartnicki is going to get a couple more tosses. On second base now for Piercy after a balk was called. Danny Hall came out. 4 umpires came together. And Josh Shepis initiated the conversation with the other 3 umpires, the home plate umpire in this situation. And initially, after they got together, they did say balk. And a delay of well over 10 minutes, and we are ready to play baseball once again. Runner at second, nobody out. A walk and a balk. Corey Wood bounces one through the right side of the infield. Here is Piercy around third. The throw comes in. It gets by everybody, goes to the backstop, and Wood will take second.
Corey Wood is the catalyst for this Coastal Carolina team. Out of the leadoff spot, after the delay, goes after the first pitch. It's up in the zone. It's a fastball, finds that 3-4 hole, drives in Piercy. See, the throw gets away from English and McCann, and Wood able to take second base. That's Piercy scoring easily from second.
Batter is Keaton Rivers. Well, that looks awfully big now. The balk moving the runner Piercy into scoring position, immediately scoring. On the base hit to right by Wood. Gives himself up early. Barnicki up and in. Barnicki to the plate and misses again. Rivers trying to give himself up. Often in this situation, nobody out, runner at second. You want to advance that runner, go to the right side, but he seems at least right now more comfortable laying down the bunt to try to move the runner over. Doesn't show that time, and the count 3-1.
Well, Gary Gilmore knows how important runs are, and for a team that hits a lot of home runs, they're not afraid to sack bunt either.
Full count, 3-2 on Rivers. Coastal Carolina has not trailed in this game.
I like the strategy right there. You don't get the bunt down early in the count. You get count leverage at 3-1, and then you give a guy like Keaton Rivers who can hit the ball out of the ballpark, give him a chance to swing at 3-1, and now at 3-2.
Stays alive. Caden Gibson, Georgia Tech starting pitcher, lasted just a third of an inning, faced 7 hitters, and charged with 4 earned runs on 4 hits. Barnicki got the final 2 outs in the first. He's been on the mound since. Liner to right field. Radcliffe will cut it off. Now it gets by him and goes to the wall. Wood will score. Throw comes into second. It's offline. Rivers delivers a runner from second. 2 runs across in the inning for the Chanticleers.
I'm guessing that's probably going to go as a single and an error on Radcliffe. I'm thinking that ball was hit in the air, and that's a break right there because Wood was holding up at second base. He was not going to score on that base hit, but once that ball got past Radcliffe, he was able to score from second base. He had hesitated at second and probably would have stopped at third.
6-2, Coastal Carolina up 4 once again. And the batter is Jake Wright, 0 for 2. He has struck out and fly to center. A bizarre inning, and now Coastal playing for the big inning. They do give Rivers an RBI. Off the glove of the third baseman, Waddell across the diamond. Wright retired. You'd almost think that might be a change of fortune somehow, some way. That one sharply hit. 5-6-3. And on the play, Rivers moves to third.
Well, a nice job by Webb just to get a glove on it, and a heads-up play by the shortstop, Waddell.
We saw earlier in the ball game Rivers hit the ball, and that one was not as sharply hit. And they're going to walk Bierman intentionally. We do have an explanation from the NCAA. Protest by Georgia Tech and Danny Hall denied by the NCAA. A fan yelled balk from the stands. He was not ejected. And that's the explanation that we have been given. Danny Hall is out on the pitcher's mound. And Bierman walked intentionally. Well, a bizarre start to the inning. And Coastal Carolina has capitalized. After the balk, Wood immediately with a base hit, and then Rivers with a base hit. And we've got a pitching change. We take a break. We'll catch our breath. We encourage you to do the same. Well, heartbreak last night for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Today, just frustration, and it's mounting. Luke Barnicki exiting here in the fourth inning with one out and gives way to Jonathan Hughes making his second appearance of the regional.
Jonathan Hughes, 6'2", 190 from right here in the state of Georgia. He has 8 wins out of the bullpen, making his 26th appearance. ERA just north of 5. 50 innings, 50 and a third innings of work. He's given up 60 hits, punched out 45. Opponents hit 300 off of Jonathan Hughes.
George Drosis, NCAA National Coordinator of Baseball Umpires here, along with Andy Solomon, and they have their seats in the press box just to our left. And they were down with the 4 umpires and then came with the explanation. Again, protest denied from Georgia Tech and head coach Danny Hall earlier in this inning. Skeels, 1 for 2 with a double. He scored a run back in the 4-run first inning. Hughes inheriting 2 base runners. Well hit left field. Hall going back, makes a catch on the warning track, tagging, and coming in to score is Rivers. 3 runs across here in the 4th inning for the Chanticleers.
Excellent job of hitting by the veteran backstop for Coastal. Kyle Skeels, a productive out. That's a big 7th run. That is the 3rd sacrifice fly by Skeels in this regional.
Picks up his 55th run batted in. Shavers has walked in both of his plate appearances. 7-2 Coastal. Hughes on in relief. Gibson, the starter, a third of an inning. Bartnicki exiting the game here in the home 4th inning. Both teams into the bullpen. We have a long way to go in this ball game. Auburn waiting in the wings, and Auburn, it'll be interesting to see how they match up in the regional final at 6 p.m. Eastern. Their pitchers and how they'll set it up to try to clinch it. They can end it here tonight. Check swing, went too far. McCann applies the tag. Shavers out on strikes. And the inning is over. Gary Gilmore, head coach of the Chanticleers, will join us when we continue. Coastal Carolina head coach Gary Gilmore joins us from the first base side. Coach, can you sort of give us an idea of what you heard during that entire explanation and everything that went on with that delay of over 10 minutes?
I mean, it was, I didn't hear it on my side, but, somebody obviously called out balk, and the young man stopped his delivery or whatever, thinking the umpire had done it. And, so, I mean, it's it's a kind of an ugly part of our game, whatever, where, people in the stands are going to yell things out. You can't legislate that part. So, just deal with it and move on.
Coach, you guys seem to be in the right spot in the elimination game. It seems like you thrive when your back's against the wall, not only this year but even in the past. I mean, that's kind of your ammo almost.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's a lot harder to win in a regional at home because so much pressure on you to win.
Yep.
You go on the road, you can relax because it's that thing where you no one expects you to win, so to speak. Like for us, we have nothing to lose regardless of what happens here.
Coach, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Gary Gilmore joining us from the first base dugout.
He's right. It's great to host, but there is a ton of pressure. He's right. He felt it last year.
Did not advance after hosting in Conway. Washington came out of that Conway regional and made it all the way to Omaha for the first time in program history. Washington and Texas, 2 of the 8 teams in Omaha last year, they did not make the field of 64 here in 2019. There were 6 national seeds that made it all the way to Omaha in 2018. And on this, the first Sunday of the NCAA's in regional action, 7 national seeds around the country started today. A loss understanding that their seasons could possibly come into an end. And 5 of the 7, including this game here, with number 3 national seed Georgia Tech in action. And right now, Georgia Tech, with those other games in action, the other 4 teams are currently leading in their games. And that'll be a shot in the arm. In terms of, you're the host, you get a win, and you've got new life. Radcliffe, a leadoff base hit. Colin Hall, 0 for 2. Hall is struck out and fly to center. Alaska Abney. You have to say the first name anytime you say the last name with a name like Alaska. Runner goes from first, swing and a miss, throw down to second base. Out at second is Radcliffe. Radcliffe does not agree with the call. He is staying at second base. Strike him out, throw him out, double play. And he is staying put. And this one is reviewable, and that's what we're going to have.
Pretty good look at it right here from our center field camera. Foot in. Tag made. I think he's safe.
The second time where we've had a review on a stolen base where the throw is into the base runner. McKeon taking the throw from the catcher, Skeels.
You can see the second base umpire, Jason Kaminsky. He's trying to get over. He's blocked a little bit by Radcliffe's body as far as the tag right there. He tried to move over more so in the baseline after the ball got past him.
See, I think if you take 2 together, you can come up with the fact that he is safe. Watch. Foot at the bag. Tag still coming in. And if we go back to the previous angle, you are going to see that the glove had not gotten there yet. Well, down 7-2, putting the runner in motion. And right now we have a strike him out, throw him out, double play. And it would be the first caught stealing of the season on Barron Ratcliffe. Well, Danny Hall has already been out there in the last half inning, and I think that youngster right there is trying to hone in on what's going on with the command center.
It's a big play right here. Yep. I think that's the right call.
A reversal, strikeout Hall, stolen base Ratcliffe. He's in scoring position. That is our first reversal of a call in the regional. And we were off to a great start. Then all of a sudden they just started snowballing.
I think that's credit to the men in blue. They do a good job.
Austin Wilhite 0 for 2, grounded to short in his last at bat. Comes inside.
You know, this is a part in the game right now. Tech down by 5. You know, nothing really going right for them. They really don't have any momentum or flow or any rhythm right now. You know, a couple of key hits, if they can get a run or two to just kind of get some momentum, that would sorely help this team.
2-0 the count on Austin Wilhite. And you can go to the bottom half of the fourth inning. Yes, the balk that moved the runner into scoring position. They end up plating 3, but don't forget, prior to us talking with Danny Hall, they stranded 3 base runners in the last inning. And a golden opportunity, then all of a sudden a 3 spot, allowing Coastal Carolina to extend the lead. Wrapped on the ground towards third base. Nick Lucky up with it. Tosses over to first. Wilhite retired.
Well,
Runner Ratcliffe stays put.
You can learn from last night's game, Georgia Tech and Auburn. Again, Tech in full command of the game, had all the momentum, all the rhythm, everything until you got to the bottom of the ninth. So this game involves 27 outs, and you have to get all 27 of them, and sometimes that last inning is the most difficult. So you just got to chip away, and you just got to keep grinding and keep battling. It's a team that's won 42 games this year, so.
Batter is Jackson Webb, and he is plunked. That will put runners at first and second.
Center fielder, number 31, Nick Wilhite.
So Alaska Abney will now face the number 9 hitter, Nick Wilhite, with 2 down and 2 aboard. See the difference? 2 for 12 and 8 runners left on for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Coastal Carolina has capitalized. Abney trying to pick up the outside corner.
You know, during the regular season, Georgia Tech won 9 of 10 ACC series. In 4 of those 9 series wins, they lost on Friday night. So they had to come back and win Saturday and Sunday, which is difficult to do, to win a series when you lose on Friday night. But they did that 4 times. Did it against Virginia, Notre Dame, 5 times. North Carolina, Boston College, and Virginia Tech.
And the one series they lost against Miami, they did win game 1.
Exactly. So
Wilhite has struck out and popped up.
The point I'm making by giving that example, this team's got some resiliency to it. You have to with 42 wins on the season. But listen, Coastal, they're now playing in their 7th elimination game in the postseason. Reeled off 5 in a row in the Sun Belt, and then eliminated Florida A&M yesterday. Gary Gilmore's team playing relaxed baseball right now. You heard him in that in-game interview. There's a lot of pressure playing at home in a regional.
Coastal Carolina lost in the opener on Friday against Auburn. See the numbers. This is their 7th. A lucky number 7 would get them into the regional final against Auburn at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we've got the bases loaded. Abney plunks his 2nd straight batter. So back to the top for Luke Waddell. All he's done in this ball game is collect 3 singles. Has now hit safely in 14 straight and reached in 39 in a row. Georgia Tech, 2nd time in this ball game. Batter coming to the plate with the bases loaded. English in the 4th, stranded 3, flied out to right for the final out. Picks up strike 1. Georgia Tech in its victory, 15 hits. And also 13 walks against FAMU on Friday. They left 13 runners on base. That's been a disturbing trend that has continued in this elimination game. Line drive left field. Rivers is there. Inning over. For the 2nd straight inning, they leave the bases loaded. Georgia Tech is stranded 11.
Welcome back to the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One.
The ESPN networks bring you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with regional coverage on ESPN2, ESPNU, the SEC network, and ESPN3. Whip-around coverage is also available through ESPN3 and the Bases Loaded channel. All coverage is available on the ESPN app. Steve Lennox, Rusty Anzer. Rusty, all SEC with the Tennessee Volunteers in 1981. 7-2 ball game, home 5th inning. Coastal Carolina 4 runs and chasing starter Keaton Gibson from the game in the 1st inning. McKeon, who has a 12-game hit streak, starting things off 7, 8, and 9. McKeon, Lucky, and Piercy. English to the bag himself, 1 away.
Third baseman, number 12.
Nick Lucky 0 for 1, picked up an RBI with a sacrifice fly in the 1st inning. Gibson, Bartnicki, and now Jonathan Hughes making his 2nd appearance of this Atlanta Regional. Hughes came on in the 7th inning on Friday night against Florida A&M in relief of starter Amos Willingham. Willingham gave up a leadoff double, and Hughes picked up a strikeout, 2 ground ball outs to strand the runner at 3rd. Line drive, left field. Colin Hall coming on, makes the catch, and then the tumble forward. 2 down.
That's an excellent play by Colin Hall in left field, and he doesn't make that play unless he gets a great jump on that baseball. That ball's hit right on the line off the bat of Nick Lucky. Look at the jump he gets, immediately charging in and makes the diving catch. Sometimes baseball is a lot like basketball. Sometimes defense kind of gets your offense going.
Piercy walked in the last inning against Luke Bartnicki, and that's when things got a little wacky. Liner right to 1st, inning over. Hughes a 1-2-3 5th. Chris Cotter from the studio when we come back. Chris Cotter, thank you very much. 2-3-4 duo for Georgia Tech in the 6th inning. Georgia Tech was the visiting team in the loss against Auburn on Saturday. Home away was decided on Saturday with a coin toss. Home team today, Coastal Carolina, due to the fact that Coastal is the home team for the first time in 3 games. Goldberg is 0 for 2, walked and scored back in the 3rd inning for the Yellow Jackets. Goldberg and family ties, Rusty.
I tell you, I was just going to mention the fact that he has just been the model of consistency the entire year. Hitless in back-to-back games just once.
Towering fly ball, left field. Keaton Rivers makes the catch. Goldberg has a sister, Sophia, who is a student at Georgia Tech. His father, Bob, is a professor of biomedical engineering here at Georgia Tech, and Mom, Tina, also an engineer on campus. Well, Kyle McCann will come to the plate here with the bases empty. He is 1 for 2 with a single and a walk. Georgia Tech scored 2 runs in the 3rd inning. McCann had a base hit, and then English had a sacrifice fly. Then in the 4th inning, a walk to McCann. That loaded up the bases. English, though, with 2 outs, flied out to right field. Alaska Abney working in his 3rd inning. He hit 2 batters, gave up a single in the last inning, and stranded 3. Taking all the way, and it's over for strike 1. Ball 4, and McCann is reached for the 3rd time in this ballgame. Tech has had at least 1 base runner in every inning against Alaska Abney, and here's Tristan English. English, that's just over 2+ days for the John Olerud 2A Player of the Year finalist. Aaron Shunk, we have heard from Chris Cotter in studio for Georgia and Athens today. Grand slam, one of his 2 home runs. Another 2A player. That's a situation where Georgia winning big against Florida Atlantic. Shunk, you don't want him on the mound in this one. You're saving him for Florida State later tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. Georgia Tech would like to have that luxury right here. English, big-time prospect, not only at the bat but also on the mound. We haven't seen him pitch in this regional. If Tech can come back and get the lead, you'll probably see him on the bump. It's only one of 3 Georgia Tech players in Tech history to be named All-ACC 3 years. That's pretty impressive.
And he would have been on the mound last night if Williams had reached. He did reach with a home run, but if he had singled or walked, then it was going to be Tristan English on the mound.
Yeah, they liked the left-on-left matchup with Thomas and Williams.
Third hit batter by Alaska Abney, 2 on with 1 down.
Tech still searching for that big hit.
Barron Ratcliffe 1 for 2 with a single and a walk, will come to the plate with 2 aboard. Ratcliffe 2 base hits and 11 at bats. English, you saw the number there. Baseball finds him.
He's been on base 10 times in this regional.
He's in the top 20 in terms of hitters around the nation hit by pitches this season. Alaska Abney in a 2-on, 1-out situation. Coastal Carolina with activity in the bullpen down the right field line. Quickly, 0-2 the count. Coastal Carolina with the bullpen. Dylan Gentry has made an appearance. That came on Friday on day 1 of this Atlanta regional. McCann, the lead runner. He is at second base. Ratcliffe out on strikes for the second time today. So walk and a hit by pitch. Strikeout against Ratcliffe. Abney not out of the woods yet, as Colin Hall, who is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, stands in. Breeze has picked up considerably over the last 5-10 minutes. As we've seen in the mid to late afternoon over the previous 2 days here in Atlanta, Breeze blows across from left to right. Hall thought about pulling the trigger, instead takes strike 1. Colin Hall, 72 hits on the season, 21 extra base hits. Coastal Carolina has not trailed in this ballgame. Georgia Tech has stranded 11 runners. And here in the 6th, 2 on with 2 down. Would you characterize it as effectively wild? Because he's really all over.
I can tell you right now, he's making Gary Gilmore a little nervous. There's the Coastal head coach.
He is not making it easy right now. You've got Austin Wilhite on deck. Gary Gilmore. Colin reaches here. If Hall can get on base and load him up, that might be the end of the line. Three and 2 the count.
It's not a bad take for Colin Hall. That's an excellent 3-1 pitch, though, by Abney. Ball in the gap, could score 2. Runners will be off on the pitch. Hall is a gap hitter, and Tech needs some sort of big hit.
McCann from second, English from first. There's ball 4, and the bases are loaded. Alaska Abney stranded 3 in the 4th, his first inning out of the bullpen. He did the same in the 5th, and now a bases loaded situation with 2 down in the 6th inning. And as of right now, Gary Gilmore is staying put in that first base dugout. Austin Wilhite is 0 for 3. Grounded to third in his last at bat against Abney. 2 walks and a hit batter. Well, you have to get something right here.
You have to.
Wilhite takes strike one.
Third straight inning. The Tech has had the bases loaded.
Throw down to first base. Safe.
Wow.
Hall just got back in. Skills throwing, and Bierman taking the throw.
That'll make you nervous if you're Danny Hall. You cannot get caught off base. It's a nice pickoff play by Bierman and Skills. Hall did get that foot in there safely, but man, you don't want to get picked off down by 5.
Abney to Wilhite. Called strike, and it's 1-2.
Wilhite's got to expand the zone and battle down in the count. Abney tough on right-handers. Wilhite maybe just trying to think opposite field to try to stay in there a little bit longer, try to get something up to drive.
Was able to lay off. Skills behind the plate. We have seen 4 impressive catchers. Maxwell for Florida A&M. And
Matt Scheffler at Auburn. These two guys, I tell you, 4 really good backstops. You're right.
Line drive, foul down the right field line. Abney trying to get out of a mess. Again, issuing 2 walks and also hitting a batter at the top of the 6th inning. Again, the 2-2. Line drive into center field, base hit. 2 runs are going to come in to score. And Georgia Tech coming through with 2 outs. Austin Wilhite fighting McCann in English, and the Yellow Jackets striking here and inching a little closer.
Finally, the number 3 overall seed in this tournament comes through with the bases loaded. And it's Austin Wilhite, the second baseman, with the key 2-strike hit. He finally gets something up in the zone. He drives it to center field. 2 big runs score for Georgia Tech.
And now Drew Thomas out of the dugout on the first base side. And he has made the call.
It doesn't get easy when you're on the bump and you walk 2 and hit another guy to load the bases.
Dylan Gentry coming in from the right field bullpen. He is going to face the tying run in Jackson Webb when we continue. Coastal right now clinging to a 3-run lead. Have trounced in a playoff series under head coach Steve Kerr. They've won the previous 4. Our coverage starts with NBA Countdown at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Abney unable to get the final out. Dylan Gentry on in relief for Coastal Carolina.
Gentry, there's Abney's line, 2 2/3, 3 walks and a hit batter. Couple of hit batters, 3 hit batters to matter of fact.
And the new pitcher again, Dylan Gentry, his second appearance of this Atlanta Regional.
Big body lefty, has 2 wins on the season and a save inning and 26 in a third innings of work. He's given up 31 hits, struck out 29 batters. Opponents hit 295 off the Coastal lefty.
Abney issuing 2 walks, also hitting a batter in this inning. And Wilhite chasing him from the game with a 2-run base hit. Lady McCann and English. Jackson Webb 1 for 2. Double hit by a pitch by Abney in the last inning. Gentry bends one in there for a strike. Webb at the plate, the tying run. Tried to double up there. Gentry went an inning and a third Friday against Auburn, charged with 3 runs. Big cut there, and he comes up empty. Elimination game, Georgia Tech and Coastal Carolina. Chanticleers went through this exercise and an elimination game and a win against Florida A&M on Saturday. Hit foul right at home plate. Webb takes some big cuts up there. He does have 1 home run, but he does not get cheated.
Well, Tech has good speed on the bases. Hall at second, Wilhite at first. Tech just needs to keep the inning going. You know, base hit would be great for Webb. Something to keep the inning alive. He's the 8-hole hitter.
Two ball, 2 strike count.
Pretty slick job there by Kyle Skeels behind the dish. That ball wasn't close to the location. That ball gets past Skeels. Tech's got a couple of runners in scoring position.
Right now, Colin Hall out at second, the lead runner. Gentry deals, and Webb stays alive at the plate.
Gentry just dealing with that slider, trying to get it down and in on that back foot. That's the second time Webb's topped that ball off of his leg.
Walks down towards James Ramsey for a moment. James Ramsey on staff for Danny Hall, first year. Also, Dave Jaffe, the first base coach, is in his first year with the program. James Ramsey, terrific career at Florida State. Gentry deals to Webb. Fly ball, well hit, left center field. Shavers over into the alley, tracks it down, side retired. 2 runs across, middle of the 6th inning, 7-4 Coastal. Chris Cotter on the other side with a studio update. Chris, thank you very much. Georgia Tech inching closer, 2 in the top of the inning. We take a look at the bracket. Greenville is actually a day behind. Their Sunday was our Saturday, if that makes sense to you. Quinnipiac. The 3-4 in the winner's bracket. 3-4 Campbell and Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac making its second appearance, first since 2005, when their head coach John Delaney was a pitcher on that Quinnipiac team. They are out of the MAC conference. Georgia Tech, 2 in the top of the inning. Jonathan Hughes worked a 1-2-3 fifth inning, needing just 6 pitches to retire the sounding order, and now his job is to put a 0 up. Georgia Tech within 3, down 7-2. 2 different points, down 4 runs. Wood has a base hit, a walk, and 2 runs scored. On base at over a 460 clip. He's now walked 60 times this year to go with 72 hits.
Great leadoff guy and scoring runs. Well, that's nothing new for Corey Wood. Now has 170 runs scored in his 3 years at Coastal. That's 9th most in school history.
Sunbelt Freshman of the Year 2 years ago. First team All-Sunbelt in 18. Sunbelt All-Tournament team in 2019. Hughes picks up the strikeout. For more coverage of the NCAA Division I Baseball Regionals and interactive brackets, visit NCAA.com. 7-4 ball game, bottom of the 6th inning. Auburn waits in the wings. First pitch slated for the Atlanta Regional Final, 6 p.m. Eastern. Keaton Rivers, 2 base hits, RBI single, and the 3-run 4th inning for Coastal Carolina. Big cut there. Quickly 2 down here in the home 6th inning.
Well, all Jonathan Hughes has done since he's come in the ball game, and that's get outs. And he's just eating up Coastal hitters here in the top of the 6th. Or bottom of the 6th, I should say. Back-to-back punch-outs of Wood and Rivers.
Jake Wright, 0 for 3. Offense responded. He worked a scoreless 5th. Waddell to first. Hughes does the job again. Coastal goes in order, and we go to the 7th.
NCAA Baseball Regionals is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? And in part by Skittles. Taste the rainbow.
Back here in Atlanta, Steve Lennox, Rusty Enzer. 7-4 ball game. Auburn, they packed it out last night, and they walked away thrilled with a comeback win. Walk-off 3-run home run by Stephen Williams in the bottom half of the 9th inning. Even teenagers and guys in their young 20s can still act like 7- and 8-year-olds. So can 40-year-old guys, right? Or guys in their mid-40s, I should say.
Hey, we're just out here playing a young man's game.
Nick Wilhite, 0 for 2, hit by a pitch in his last plate appearance, facing Dylan Gentry for the first time. Georgia Tech has stranded 13 base runners in this game. We're in the 7th. Gentry wanted that one. Wilhite in the number 9 spot. Second leadoff hitter if you will. Get on here. You got Waddell, Goldberg, McCann, and English to follow. This is a spot in the lineup that is so important for teams. And there it is, a leadoff walk.
Good start for Georgia Tech.
Number 7, Luke Waddell.
Waddell, 3 singles and 4 at-bats. Scored a run back in the 3rd inning. Kobo's the starter, went the first 3. Abney, 2 2/3 with a lot of traffic. Walked 3, hit 3, and also gave up 3 hits. And charged with just 2 runs. Waddell now 5 hits in the regional. If you get Waddell, Goldberg is on deck. One more base runner, and Georgia Tech will bring the tying run to the plate. We have an explanation and a summary from the NCAA baseball secretary and rules editor, Randy Bruns, on what we saw earlier in the ball game with Cameron Chauncey in the 4th inning at first base, and a balk was called. And there was a fan who yelled something along the lines of, "That's a balk." And that's why Bart Nicky ended up stopping in the middle of his motion. Coastal Carolina ended up scoring 3 in the inning. Right now, Gentry needs to find the strike zone. What's your mindset right now if you're Luke Waddell?
Something on the inner half. You know, Gentry hadn't been able to show command of really any of the pitches.
Ball 4, 2-1. Let's toss it, and welcome back Chris Carter from studio.
Designated hitter, number 6.
Patriots and Gators, Dan Hefner and DBU trying to extend their season. Florida Gators, Kevin O'Sullivan in Lubbock. Gators lost on day 1.
Yeah, won an elimination game yesterday. That's the first time Kevin O'Sullivan had won a regional game on the road. He had been 0 for his previous 5.
Goldberg, the tying run with nobody out. And before Gentry throws a pitch, Drew Thomas out of the first base dugout. They were scrambling from the first base dugout, heading down the right field line. There has been activity. And Thomas going out there right now. Matt Erdenson is the right-hander, and the left-hander is Jay Causey. Both of those pitchers warming up have appeared in the regional.
Drew Thomas in his 13th year as the pitching coach for Gary Gilmore. His other assistant coach, Kevin Schnall, in his 16th year. So talk about stability. Those 3 men have won a lot of games together.
Well, the home plate umpire, Josh Shepis, strolling out there, and we just got an ejection. Drew Thomas has been ejected from the game. Coastal Carolina players cannot believe it.
He's trying to buy some extra time for his bullpen to warm up. and he just got tossed.
Shepis was out there for quite a while. Now Gary Gilmore coming out, getting an explanation. And there's no way Gilmore can get tossed in this situation. But Drew Thomas has been ejected. Player's reaction was one of disbelief.
You know, a lot of times when the umpire comes out there and things like that, in order to get a little extra time, you have a little conversation with the umpire and so forth to get your guys a couple of extra throws down there. He just tossed him.
Well, Thomas, to his credit, initially did not let it escalate any further. Ended up walking away. Gary Gilmore is coming back out because the umpires want Thomas to exit from the dugout. And he was barking from the dugout just a few moments ago. And Drew Thomas has exited from the dugout on the first base side.
We have had some excitement other than this game for sure today. Wow. Wow. Not sure I've really ever seen that before. There's the umpire coming out.
So right now you think he's got 5 to 10 seconds before he should be departing. And the conversation right now may be picking up to talk with the home plate umpire. Okay, you'd think at this point it's reasonable where he would go back to the dugout. And there it is. Watch the reaction from the players, including Bierman. And right there, Thomas only wants an explanation. So now Gary Gilmore, and here is Drew Thomas leaving the dugout. Gilmore is back out there again.
Well, all this delay, even though Coastal's pitching coach has been tossed from the game, that's given the bullpen a lot of extra throws to get ready. If he wants to make a pitching change, he could probably do that right now.
Well, let's see how Gentry responds. Wilhite walked to open up the inning. Waddell then walked, prompting the visit to the mound. Goldberg 0 for 3, walked and scored in the third inning. To center field, Shavers plays it on a hop, throw to second base offline. Bierman backing up the play, and the bases are loaded.
That's a tough read for Nick Wilhite on second, but especially Luke Waddell at first. Shavers doing a pretty nice job of trying to deke on that ball hit off the end of the bat. The runners really didn't know if Shavers was going to get there in time to make the catch. Ball falls in front of him. And now, for the fourth straight inning, Tech has loaded the bases. Kyle McCann at the plate. Remember, Georgia Tech has not hit a home run in this regional. And Kyle McCann has 4 career grand slams, 3 of those last year.
So that will be all for Dylan Gentry. Gary Gilmore out to the mound, losing his pitching coach, Drew Thomas, here in the inning. And the new pitcher coming into the game is Jay Causey. We will keep it right here. You think things have been interesting here? Well, guess what? Let's go back to the 4th inning. Bartnicki on the mound, stopped in his motion. Someone from the stands called balk. So Cameron Piercy, Danny Hall coming out, protesting. The umpires, 3 of them, then left the field down the right field line. They went and reviewed all the rules involved in the rule book. Danny Hall then came back out. And then after we got going again, it was Wood with a base hit. And then Rivers with a single. And an error by the right fielder. And then Skeels later in the inning with a sac fly. 3 runs across in that inning. So the 4th, and now here as we play in the top of the 7th inning.
Yeah, after that, all those antics with the RBI single by Wood and Rivers, it was 7-2 Coastal at that time.
Georgia Tech has loaded up the bases for a 4th straight inning. Again, they stranded 13 runners. And Kyle McCann is going to be the batter after Causey completes his warm-up tosses here. And McCann is going to come to the plate representing the go-ahead run. Georgia Tech has not led at any point in this game. And here's Causey.
Jay Causey on for the 24th time, 6'4", 225 from Conway, South Carolina. ERA of just over 5. He does have a win and a save on the season. 37 1/3 innings of work, 32 strikeouts. Opponents hit .293 off the left-hander.
Causey has completed his warm-up tosses. McCann saunters up to the plate.
Georgia Tech in the 3 previous innings with the bases loaded has only produced 1 base hit, and that was the 2-run single by Austin Wilhite.
Well hit to right field. This one heading towards the corner. Hits the wall, goes away from right. 3 runs are going to come to score. McCann all the way to 3rd.
I like the aggressiveness by the Georgia Tech catcher. Coastal makes a pitching change. He goes after the first pitch. Aggressive early in the count. Watch the location. A curveball. You hang him, he'll bang him. And he did right off the wall in right field. Ball caroms away from Jake Wright. All 3 runners score.
English back through the middle. And what do we have here? Time was called.
Yeah. James Ramsey actually called timeout. The third base coach.
McCann 3-run triple. Ramsey came over. And he was right near the base runner, and the umpires on the field had that immediately. Tied up at 7-7. English, a base hit and 2 at-bats, a sacrifice fly back in the 3rd, hit by a pitch and scored in the last inning.
That time call actually allowed Gary Gilmore to reset his defense. Originally, Coastal was playing in on the grass. Now, everybody's backed up except for the first baseman, Bierman.
Line drive, base hit, left field. Georgia Tech takes its first lead of the ball game. RBI double by English. It's 8-7 Yellow Jackets.
Tristan English continues his onslaught of pitchers in this Atlanta regional. That is his 9th hit in this regional. Ball's down and in, and he just golfs it right down the left field line. What a 3 days Tristan English has had.
Gary Gilmore making another visit to the mound. 5 straight batters have reached to open up this inning for Georgia Tech. Causey exits to the first base dugout. New pitcher in for Coastal Carolina when we come back.
Here's what happens. About an hour ago, assistant coach James Ramsey, who is himself a tremendous college player at Florida State, gets his team together, says, hey, we've got more cracks at it. Let's keep battling. Let's keep grinding. So what happens with the bases loaded? Kyle McCann comes through with a 3-run triple to tie the game. And then Tristan English comes up with the score tied and hits an RBI double down the left field line. English's 9th hit of the regional. And Tech, for the first time today, has grabbed the lead.
Down 7-2, up 8-7. English at second. Baron Ratcliffe, the first batter to face the new reliever, Matt Erdenson, who is making his second appearance here in Atlanta. Kobo's the starter, went 3. Abney 2 2/3, Gentry, Causey, and now Erdenson. And we may go well beyond that. No swing. Ratcliffe able to hold up. Ratcliffe on base twice in this ball game, a single, a walk, 2 strikeouts. A stolen base, that was reviewed in the 5th inning. He was called out. It was overturned. Ended up stranded at third base. Chopper towards first. Bierman to the pitcher covering in time. English moves to third. Productive out by Ratcliffe. So Erdenson is now on. Again, his second appearance of the Atlanta Regional.
25th overall. Has 6 wins. He's been a key member from Omaha, Nebraska. 6'3", 190. .64 strikeouts and 66 in the 3rd innings of work coming into today's game. And with 1 out in the inning, Coastal has to play in on the grass, now down by a run.
Colin Hall 0 for 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. Walked in the last inning when Georgia Tech was able to plate 2 runs. Chopper over Bierman into right field. English scores, RBI base hit. Now Tech adding on.
Well, the defensive position by Coastal allows Colin Hall to chop a base hit into right field and drive in Tech's 9th run on the day. When you play the infield in, you gamble a little bit, and that's why hitters like it. When the infield's playing in, it probably jacks your average up by about 150 points. It's a big, big run right there.
Elimination game here in Atlanta. The winner advances to the regional final against Auburn. Scheduled to start at 6 Eastern. Austin Wilhite, a base hit, knocked in a pair in the last inning. Strike 2 on Austin Wilhite. Scouts for Auburn, fans for Auburn, wondering who's going to win this back and forth battle that we've now taken on in Atlanta. Called strike 3. Wilhite knew it. And that's the second out of the inning.
Third baseman, number 35, Jackson Webb.
So Wilhite back to the dugout. Jackson Webb to the plate. Webb has a base hit and 3 at-bats, a double way back in the second inning. Since then, he's retired, trying to bunt his way on. Retired 5-3 in the fourth. Hit by a pitch in the fifth inning. Line to center and left 2 on in the last inning. Went too far. Bierman will step on the bag, and the inning is over. Georgia Tech taking the lead here in the 7th at stretch time at Russ Chandler Stadium.
Welcome back to the NCAA Baseball Regionals presented by Capital One.
Atlanta Regional. Auburn waiting in the wings. Tigers 2-0. The winner of this one will need to win tonight in the regional final and force a decisive Game 7 on Monday. We are a long way from there. Zach Bierman starts things off here in the home 7th inning against Jonathan Hughes, who has been lights out so far. Hughes came on in the 4th inning, got the final 2 outs. In relief of Luke Bartnicki. Worked a 1-2-3-6, did the same in the 5th inning. Bierman at the plate, 2-run single in the first, struck out looking in the 3rd, walked intentionally against Bartnicki in the 4th, and hot shot past English into right field. Radcliffe over to cut it off, and the second base hit of the ball game. Both singles for Bierman. And Kyle Skeels, who had an RBI on a sac fly against Hughes in his last plate appearance, will stand in, representing the tying run.
You know, something to keep in mind as we approach the last third of this game. Coastal has a knack for coming back. They've won their 6 previous elimination games. And these guys can really swing. And, again, they specialize in the home run ball, and Skeels getting hit, that's not really a new story in this regional. That's the second time, at least from the mound, he's been hit. He's been hit a couple of times by pitchers trying to block the ball and foul tips.
Fielder, number 3.
But Coastal can put up a crooked number at any time. They have 3 guys in the lineup that have double digits in home runs.
I get the padding and then the hand.
Yeah. He already has tape on that wrist.
Gary Gilmore coming from the third base coaching box and across the diamond. He's able to flex it.
And continuing my thought with this home run pop in this Coastal lineup, guy walking up to the plate, Parker Shavers.
Well, Shavers, go ahead.
He has a pair of home runs already in this regional. That was on Friday against Auburn. over the right center field wall. And then yesterday, golf's one almost to dead center field. Don't be fooled by that stature. He's got some pop.
Skills will stay in the ball game. He's at first, Bierman at second. And Shavers 0 for 1 with a pair of walks at the plate against Jonathan Hughes. Tying run on base for Coastal Carolina in the home 7th inning. Came in on the hands that time. Shavers, one of 4 hitters in the lineup with 50-plus RBIs. Hughes jumps in front, a ball and 2 strikes.
Nice backdoor slider right there to get ahead.
Webb waits on it, tries to tag the runner, going by. Everybody is safe. Bierman able to elude the tag. Third base umpire Matt Anderson had the call. Webb thought he had the runner, then threw to second, and Skeels was able to get in there. Now the bases are loaded against Hughes, who started this inning having retired 8 in a row.
I'm not sure if Webb has that to do all over again. It's a chopper to him at third base. Might as well just go ahead and turn 2. Throw to Will Hyde at second and turn 2. But Bierman, not giving up on the play, avoids the tag. And how about the hustle by the catcher Skeels? He slides in safely at second.
Danny Hall is now out of the dugout on the third base side. He indicated with his hands to the ears that, is there a review here? Now, my thinking is Webb, he had the tag. If he didn't have the tag, he would have gone to the runner again because he would have been able to get to him. Instead, he immediately went to second base thinking, I've got the out here. Now I'm going to try to get the runner at second base.
Well, again, you think that, but maybe he felt like that Bierman was by him and he couldn't make the tag. Again, I go back to my original point. Just go ahead and turn 2, 5-4-3, and you turn a double play and you got 2 outs in the inning.
Play is not reviewable. Danny Hall came out to ask if that was one that he could review and got the explanation almost immediately. Scott McKeon, 1 out of 3. Ball gets through the catcher McCann. The runner from third will not try to advance. Bierman wisely holding up, able to elude the tag by the third baseman Jackson Webb. And Shavers reaching on the fielder's choice. I think if Webb knew that he did not get the tag, that he would have gone at him again. And now Danny Hall is going to go out to the mound and talk with Jonathan Hughes. We'll take a look at what is reviewable. Force and tag plays at any base, and that's going to be all. Hughes is going to exit. On the base running, the runner passing another runner, score prior to a third out, touching and retouching of bases. And we will take another look at the play that allowed Coastal Carolina to load up the bases here in the 7th inning.
Again, runners on first and second. Parker Shavers is the hitter. He hits a chopper. And Webb goes for the tag, the force play. Bierman avoids it. Then he tries to get the force at second, but Skeels beats the throw. Again, I think if he had to do it all over again, ball's hit to the third baseman Webb. just go to second immediately and turn the double play, and you're potentially looking at 2 outs in the inning with Bierman just standing on third.
Well, Danny Hall goes to his first baseman as Tristan English comes from first base to take the mound. And he enters with the bases loaded, nobody out in the 7th inning. Michael Goldberg comes onto the playing field. The designated hitter is now at first base. So our first look at English on the mound. He has been outstanding at the plate. One of the finalists for the John Olerud two-way player of the year around the nation. And you see his numbers, Rusty.
He has 3 wins on the season, 5 saves. Had a tremendous outing in the ACC tournament where he drove in the winning run and then finished off the game for the victory. We talked about at the very top of the broadcast tonight about his ability to pitch on the mound. We hadn't seen him in this regional, and we said if Tech had the lead late, that Danny Hall was going to go to Tristan English, and he has.
And once again, as English completes his warm-up process, the winner of this game, 6 o'clock scheduled matchup, regional final against the Auburn Tigers. This game well over 3.5 hours old. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning.
English is a power arm from the right side. He's been up to 95 this year, and he's got a pretty good slider.
Scott McKeon, again, 1 for 3 with an RBI base hit. Strike 1 on the Chanticleer's shortstop. Georgia Tech 5 runs in the top of the inning to take its first lead of the game. Way inside. Michael Goldberg again is the new first baseman. Goes from the DH spot to first base. Stays in the lineup in the number 2 spot, of course. Tying run at second. Go ahead run. Aboard at first. Liner off of English towards second. They get 1. Throw to first. Double play. And now the focus on English. Is he all right? McKeon absolutely stung that ball. Bierman scores. It's a 1-run ball game.
I think that ball went off right off the top of English's glove. In fact, I think it knocked the glove off of his hand. Right up the middle. Yeah, right off the top of the glove. Fortunately for Tech, the ball caroms right behind the base, and Austin Wilhite, the second baseman, able to grab it, step on second, and get the double play at first. It's a huge break for Georgia Tech.
Skills at third base. Heads up the middle, but as that ball got out towards the bag at second, it got out there so fast it gives you the indication of just how hard the ball was hit off the bat of McKeon.
Well, and also by going off the top of English's glove, slowed that line drive down and gave Wilhite a chance to get over there. If that ball doesn't draw leather from English, that ball is clearly up the middle. And 2 runs are going to score, more than likely.
Behrman did score. Skills now at third, the tying run. Inning over. English leaves the tying run at third base. We're going to take another look at the double play, the pitcher's best friend.
Sometimes you need breaks. Instead of a tie ball game, the ball goes off of English's glove. They turn the double play and get the punch out.
ESPN Networks bring you every game on the road to Omaha, starting with regional coverage this weekend on ESPN2, ESPNU, the NCC Network, and ESPN3. Whip-around coverage is also available through ESPN3 and the Bases Loaded channel. Yes, you're on your phone at the ballpark. You should be streaming all coverage of the NCAA tournament available on the ESPN app. Let's go. Get that app out. Push the buttons. A 37-minute 7th inning. if you pay attention to those sort of things. Nick Wilhite against Matt Erdenson in the top of the 8th inning in what is, again, a one-run ball game. 9-8, Georgia Tech. Liner to left field. Rivers is there. Wilhite retired quickly by Erdenson.
Shortstop, number 7, Luke Waddell.
Erdenson, the 5th pitcher used by Gary Gilmore. Andrew Thomas, who, oh, by the way, ejected from this ball game. He was tossed by the home plate umpire, Josh Shempis. Shempis went out to the mound. Thomas was talking with his battery and the 4 infielders and stayed out there. Shempis was engaged in conversation. That was one of those. He did want to talk to him. And Thomas was ejected without really, I don't think, showing up the home plate umpire, but Shempis has just had enough. Gary Gilmore came out on a couple of occasions to try to settle things down. Base hit, Luke Waddell. His 4th base hit of this ball game, and he's been on base 5 times.
First baseman, number 6, Michael Goldberg.
And Michael Goldberg will come to the plate. Goldberg a base hit in the last inning, which saw Georgia Tech plate 5 runs. Waddell now has 6 base hits. Earlier in the game, extending his hit streak to 14 straight, and he's reached base safely now in 39 in a row. That's a nice run.
That's what you want out of your leadoff guy.
Hank Lafort of Cal State Fullerton earlier this year, I think, got into the 50s. And there's actually a Twitter handle, did Hank Lafort get a base hit? Something along those lines. That might not be exact, but it's pretty close. Cobos went the first 3 innings for Gary Gilmore and the Chanticleers.
You know, Tech doesn't run a lot, but this would be a really good spot for hit and run.
Fly ball, center field. Shavers takes care of it, and that's the 2nd out. And that will bring up Kyle McCann. Let's take a look at McCann's at bat in the last inning.
Waiting for him to explode in this regional, and he does it with one swing. With the bases loaded, hammers one off the right field wall. Clear the bases, 3 runs scored. A 3-run triple, and Tech was back in it.
Goldberg right on the heels of Waddell.
That gave Tech a 1-run lead, and then English with an RBI double driving in. McCann gave him a 2-run lead. We stand at 9-8 right now.
Tristan English is now on in relief. At the start of today's action, 7 national seeds were on the brink. At one point when Georgia Tech was trailing, the other ones that were in action were all leading. Georgia at home, looking to advance to face Florida State. Line drive down the right field line, foul to the bullpen area. That bullpen has been busy. Georgia Tech Number 3 national seed trying to make it to the regional final against Auburn. Coastal Carolina, after getting bounced hosting last year, trying to advance through the losers bracket. Couple times today, Georgia Tech batters adjusting those batting gloves. Is this where Nomar Garcia started that? I wonder.
Could have.
That one nips the corner. McCann waiting on Erdenson, who takes the sign and comes to the set. Runner goes. Towering pop-up right field. Jake Wright is there to make the catch. Inning over. No runs, a base hit, nothing else doing. Middle of the 8th inning. Georgia Tech up a run. We're back here in Atlanta. How about these images from Omaha? TD Ameritrade Park will host the College World Series for a 9th year. Long time at Rosenblatt. 64 teams started on Friday. 8 teams will be in Omaha in the middle of June. Play gets underway on June 15th. There's our updated bracket. Winner of this game will advance to face Auburn in the regional. Winner of this regional is going to face the winner of the Chapel Hill Regional. Just got word, Tennessee in extra innings beating Liberty 6-5. And it will be Tennessee and North Carolina this evening. Cameron Piercy facing Tristan English for the first time. English faced 2 batters, got 3 outs in the last inning. Entered with the bases loaded. A liner back through the pitcher. They ended up turning the double play. And then English came back and struck out Lucky to leave Skeels at third base. 9-1-2 due up for Coastal Carolina. Up 4-0, then 7-2. Georgia Tech got 2 runs in the 6th inning. To pull to within 7-4, they took the lead for the first time in the 7th with a 5 spot. Into center field, shallow, long run for Wilhite coming on, makes the catch coming towards the infield. Big first out in a 1-run ball game.
Huge first out, and that ball fooled Wilhite in center field. He got a late jump. You see the hesitation right there, but that speed outruns that baseball to get that big first out.
Corey Wood stands in, a base hit in 3 at-bats. He has walked once, struck out twice, and scored 2 runs. English is all business. Left center field. Wilhite will have to play this on a bounce, and Wood is on base for the 3rd time. So the tying run on base, and Keaton Rivers will come up. He has doubled and also singled in a run.
Tristan English, 3 wins, 5 saves on the year. His wins have come against this year against UCLA, Notre Dame, and Duke in the ACC tournament. His 5 saves against Illinois, Chicago, at Louisville, Notre Dame, at Virginia Tech, and Georgia.
Illinois, Chicago making it to the field of 64. Wood does have 20 stolen bases on the year. Has been caught 3 times. Austin Wilhite behind the bag at second makes the catch. Chris Carter in studio with an update on the UCLA Bruins. Chris, thank you very much. Jake Wright with 2 outs and a runner on. English trying to get the final out here in the 8th inning. And if he can get right here, then that would mean Bierman would come to the plate in the bottom half of the 9th with nobody on base, the team's leading home run hitter. That pitch misses inside and low. There is Bierman. Drove in 2 runs in Coastal's 4-run first inning against Keaton Gibson, the starter.
Pretty special right there. You got to stay away from this guy because with one swing of the bat, he could put Coastal ahead. English ahead in the count, has to stay away.
Wilhite far to his left, settles his feet, inning over. A hit, nothing else doing. On to the 9th we go here in Atlanta. Georgia Tech up 9-8.
After Sunday Night Baseball, don't miss SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt. He'll have post-game reaction from Warriors-Raptors Game 2, plus Inside the Sox-Yankees series and how Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin changed the NBA 30 years ago. SportsCenter after Red Sox-Yankees on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Ninth inning. And Tristan English, why not? His 10th base hit of the regional. Leadoff man aboard. English trying to help provide himself with just a little cushion maybe, an insurance run or 2. He has worked 2 scoreless in relief to this point. And that will bring up Barron Radcliffe.
Yeah, I'm sure that English is standing on first base going, yeah, boys, insurance would be much appreciated at this point.
It's really not that easy, but what he's doing is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Radcliffe bounced to first in his last at bat. He is going to be asked to get the final 3 outs. He's gotten the last 6. There are the numbers offensively, and the number at the bottom is pitching line to this point.
And you ask, how important is insurance for Tech in this half inning? Well, English in the bottom of the 9th is going to have to face Bierman, Skeels, and Shavers. And respectively, those 3 men have hit 18, 10, and 15 home runs.
Liner right to second, throw back to first, double play. Hardest ball that Radcliffe has hit, I think, all weekend long, and nothing to show for it.
That's a That's a key couple of outs for Coastal right there. That ball was ticketed in the gap and could have scored English all the way from first base. Instead, it finds the glove of Corey Wood and a quick throw to Bierman for the 4-3 double play.
Colin Hall coming over to talk with third base coach James Ramsey.
This is just all about giving English a chance to sit down in the dugout and grab some water. Again, he was doubled off first base. He's the guy that's going to be trying to save this game for Tech in the bottom of the ninth.
And you'd think maybe Hall would take a pitch, maybe even two.
See, that's what makes you so great, because I was thinking the same thing.
A lot of people may have just rolled their eyes with your comment right there, your observation, if you will. Colin Hall had a big RBI base hit in the 5-run 7th inning. McCann had a 3-run triple. English had an RBI double. Center field, well hit. Shavers going back, still going back, and this one is off the wall into the batter's eye and a home run.
There's some insurance if you're Tristan English. Danny Hall's son, Colin Hall, to dead center field. Right off the batter's eye. Off the top of the wall. Karam's off the batter's eye. And Tech, for the second time in this regional, has scored double-digit runs. They now have 15 hits. That ties the total they had in Game 1 on Friday night against Florida A&M.
And they are going to challenge the call on the play, and I think we got a pretty good look there as it hit right at that yellow line and went over the top.
I'm not sure what the distance is between the actual center field wall and that batter's eye. I don't know if it's connected or if there's a gap between the two.
I thought we were about to have our shortest review here in Atlanta.
You know, it's interesting. I didn't see any of the four umpires signal the home run call. I was just watching Parker Shavers, the center fielder for Coastal. Once he didn't catch it and bounced off the top of the wall, he just kind of gave up on it.
Jeff Henricks indicated he went out there.
Okay.
The second base umpire was out into right center field. And there you go. Home run, Colin Hall delivering his fourth home run of the season. And there is, as you said, we take another look, a little insurance.
Yeah, it bounced right off of that batter's eye, off the top of the wall. That's the second home run we've seen bounce off the top of the wall in this Atlanta Regional.
Willis McDaniel of Florida A&M.
Yeah. That's a huge, huge run.
Austin Wilhite at the plate, 10-8, Georgia Tech. Right center field, Shavers, right. Shavers makes the catch, inning over. A run for Georgia Tech and taking a 10-8 lead to the bottom half of the ninth inning. Georgia Tech 3 outs away from advancing to the regional final where Auburn waits. Let's go back to the drama from last night and the agony for Georgia Tech. Auburn down to its final strike, 3-run home run for Stephen Williams.
An 0-2 pitch. And Connor Thomas hung a slider and Stephen Williams didn't miss. A walk-off 3-run home run. And then today, here's what happens. When a team believes in itself, that's a bases-clearing triple by catcher Kyle McCann. That gave Georgia Tech its first lead. And then Tristan English expanded it with a double down the line, driving in McCann. Kyle McCann, the Capital One player of the game, triple, 4 runs batted in. He's also scored a pair. Outstanding game by the Georgia Tech backstop.
Tristan English out on the mound for the bottom half of the ninth inning. Coastal Carolina with their 4, 5, and 6 hitters scheduled up: Bierman, Skeels, and Shavers. They've combined for 39 home runs on the season. Bierman will come to the plate, and he can beat you, but he can't tie it up at this point. They need at least one base runner.
That's what makes that home run by Colin Hall so huge in the top of the ninth. Georgia Tech's first home run comes to a guy that only had 3 coming into the game. The coach's son with a huge insurance run.
Bierman, a 2-run single back in the first. Working that outside corner and just missing.
I mean, you want to be careful to Bierman, there's no doubt. But if you walk him, that brings the potential tying run to the plate.
A walk and the leadoff man aboard. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carter with an update on Florida and Dallas Baptist. Chris, thank you very much. Gary Gilmore coming down the third base side. He's going to talk with his catcher and hitter Skeels for a moment.
Austin Langworthy, he hit the game-winning home run in the Supers last year against Auburn down in Gainesville to put Florida into the College World Series.
Bradley Ryopel is going to run at first base, goes by BT. Strike one on Skeels. He doubled back in the first, picked up an RBI with a sacrifice fly in the fourth inning when he faced Jonathan Hughes. Right field line, Radcliffe, long run. And he'll watch this one land out on the concourse. Shortstop. Waddell steps on the bag at second for one, back to first, double play. Almost fitting.
That's huge. Tech turned 4 double plays, which was a season high last night. Nice Sunday hop for Waddell. Steps on the bag. Easy throw over to Goldberg. That's the 8th double play turned by Georgia Tech in this regional, the 2nd today.
Shaver's the batter. 0 for 2 and a pair of walks. English faced 2 batters in the 7th, got 3 outs. Worked around a single in the 8th. When this game started at noon Eastern, Georgia Tech was a little over 12 hours removed from a gut-wrenching loss against Auburn. Ball game over. Georgia Tech picks up the win against Coastal Carolina in an elimination game, and the Yellow Jackets survive to play another game.
The 2 big leaders had to produce for Tech today, and that was Kyle McCann behind the plate, the Capital One player of the game, and the save for Tristan English for Georgia Tech.
So Georgia Tech and Auburn, 6 Eastern, in the regional final. Again, that game is coming up. Our final score once again, 10-8. Georgia Tech victorious over Coastal Carolina.